Live.
All right.
What's going on, Steve?
Well, not much. Just I got back from Texas, where I spent, Monday through Friday for Spanky Assiter's Great Texas Mopar Horde Auction event, where 280 cars that were collected by this guy that sat out in the Texas desert for the last 30 years were sold. No reserve, online auction.
You've been pumping that on your channel now for a long time.
I have. And the thing of it is, right, this fellow, his name was John Hemi. And if you live in Big Spring, Texas, or around that area, you might remember him. He was, I guess, just a big collector. And it's funny, too, because the three brothers lived on a farm with their mom and dad way back when. They still have the farm, but they got oil under the ground and suddenly went from dirt to rich. It's kind of goofy. Not rich, but I mean, he would have checks from the oil companies for the mineral rights, right? So he would go off and buy cars. I mean, we're talking like 1958 Chrysler 300Ds and stuff like that. He'd get them home, take the carburetors off, and then leave it out in the prairie with the hood open. I mean, it was it was an interesting bunch of stuff. He passed away, but they came close to calling a scrapper and crushing everything on site. Oh yeah, that was close. So they didn't, and they got $800,000 for all this stuff, which probably is about 10 times what they would have had. So it was very good. The two brothers and Spanky Assiter, who you might remember from Barrett Jackson, him and Amy were the lead auctioneers for Barrett for many years. But they have a thing called Freedom Car Auctions, and they hired me to help describe the cars and give them all a voice, so to speak. So it went well. The one thing that was crazy, though, I don't know if I've been pumping the thing out like you say, but there was a 1970 Pontiac GTO orange car that the Haney brothers used for target practice with a machine gun and all kinds. They were Texas boys, you know what I'm saying? And this GTO was a real 242 car. It wasn't a Ram Air. It was just a regular 400 automatic AC, lots of options. Not a Ram Air 4-speed. You know what I'm saying? But still, it was a goat, blown full of holes. Well, I was certain. It's basically air in the tires and it's ready to be shown, right? My thing is, I would say a guy with a Ram Air 4 collection, buy this goat, stick it in the middle, and watch people freak out. Well, it went for $200. Blew my mind.
Really?
Blew my mind. I was thinking $5,000-6,000, but hey, whatever, But a lot of two-door B bodies. There was a 57 Plymouth Plaza. Not a Savoy, a Plaza. What's cheaper than a Savoy? A Plaza.
Imagine cheaper than a Savoy. It's hard to imagine cheaper than a Savoy.
Yeah. In 57, the Plaza was the cheapy. It was a two-door post. It had a 392 Hemi, dual quads, and a 3-speed manual on the column. Somebody put the Hemi in it, but it was the ultimate sleeper. And I think it went for like $8,000. I mean, like, wow. A lot of stuff went really, really cheap. The stuff that was crazy expensive, was like there was a 74 Impala convertible with like 900 miles. So he was still on the MSO and, never been used. And that was for 28,000 or something like that. It had no miles on it, but, ho hum to me anyway, But it was a range of stuff. But luckily, nothing got crushed. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's probably going to be about 20 cars that will be left behind, crushed on site, like a Fiat 124 full of bullet holes. No, $60. Scrap company got that.
Right.
But so anyway, I did buy a car, but we'll talk about that next.
Before we talk about your car, I want to say hi to all of our regulars and our newcomers over here and our amazing mods that have shown up. And greetings, everybody. So, Steve, you're like our most popular. I can't tell you how many people. When are you going to have Steve back on? When are you going to have Steve back on? You're more popular than I am on my own damn channel.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way, my brother. So, you've been loading stuff on your channel now. You finally got to the point where, like, I get notifications like every day that you're posting a short video, and some of them are just awesome. What I mean? That thing you did on the steering, on the Studebaker.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I know, it's funny. Yeah, well, basically, as you know, I was doing Junkyard's Roadkill's Junkyard Gold, and on Motor Trend. I'm thankful for that. And also, I can't wait for Motor Trend to further my career. You know what I'm saying? So I finally got religion, and thank you with your encouragement too. And so I decided to, to launch the YouTube channel. And I don't know, I had it in my head that I had to have like a drone and two camera guys and a sound guy and a producer and all this bullshit. And it just turns out, that this little smartphone or a tablet gets 80% of the job done. 80%.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah.
It's so much easier than it, and people, the YouTube audience appreciates that.
Yeah.
They don't really care about they care about the essence, okay? They care about the subject matter. They care about connecting with the person who's delivering the subject matter to them. They don't really care that it's got this fancy shot and this perfect lighting and the sound is just flawless, right? I got a few people bitch about it here and there, but for the vast majority of people, they're just looking for the content.
Yeah.
They want interesting, fascinating content. And that's something that you can dig out in spades every day, time after time after time.
Yeah.
So you've got how many videos up in your channel now?
Let's see, we do one a day, and I think there are probably 60 or something like that up, and every day we put up a new one. And my buddy Chris Roberts and he's not here right now, but he's out with his sons and stuff tonight. But we just basically go to the junkyard. And we went to Berniston Auto Wrecking in Berniston, Massachusetts, where else, about 2 weeks ago, and shot about 20 videos there. And we're due for another round in the next week or so. And then he puts them up, and they launch every day. And I'm starting to kind of get hip. This is the thing, AdSense, as you know. I think I got $490 coming. Woo!
You made $490 already?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's not. Well, it's about making a living for sure. It's not really about that, but it's nice to to get paid. But the crazy thing is Motor Trend. I just can't wait for them to call and tell me what's next. You know what I mean? That was my thing. So it's nice that that YouTube exists and people can take command of their worlds and share with their stories. So it's kind of nice. So anyway,
the old media is on its way out. The whole DIY. What you're doing right now, what we're doing. This is the future of automotive media. Like what we're doing right now is the same thing you and I did 30 years ago with the magazines, except this is the format that we do it in now. And we don't have to worry about the advertising people. We don't have to worry about the
publisher
and distribution and blah, 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 fill in the blanks. You now have control over all of your material.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
You don't have to worry about the editor sticking a bad cover on a bunch of really good stories, and everything you've done just goes right down the toilet.
Or editing your story or taking
editing your story, right?
Yeah,
control over everything. Welcome to the club. Yeah. So if you haven't subscribed to Steve's channel, Steve, tell them what to do.
Yeah, it's both the Steve Magnante YouTube channel or Steve Mag's YouTube channel. And just subscribe, and each day we launch a video, and also I got to say too that since October of 2020, I've been reading from my book. We do a thing called the Steve Mag's Muscle Car Show podcast, and all I do is read from my book, 1001 Muscle Car Facts, for about a half an hour, and in between the facts, I introduce. I just say, hey, I chose this fact because. Or since I wrote the book, I learned this more about that fact, whatever. And it's about 50 episodes of that. And those are they're audio only until about the last 4. And some people say, why do you bother taping yourself on YouTube reading from a book? Well, as we go forward, I probably will have guests and stuff like that come into the little studio. But yeah, that's been up, and that grew quite a bit too since we put that on YouTube. So anyway.
Well, you could do what we're doing right now with StreamYard. And you could actually have guests come on and do it that way.
Yeah. So it's great. It's a brave new world, and I mean, I don't know what I don't know about the internet, but finding it out slowly but surely, so it's good. Yeah, I do know that it's a nice way to cut out the middleman. And I hate to say it, just for so many years, we know how it is. People with good stories or just stories to tell, they have to wait for, somebody to approve it, and then they screw with it and it changes, and it's frustrating. Kevin Hart ate my lunch, to be honest with you. I love the guy. He's hilarious. But Motor Trend spent a lot of money to get Kevin Hart's muscle car crew. And the budget, I think, for all of those shows was blown out. So, I haven't seen his show. I want to love it. But if anybody's going to eat my lunch, I'm honored that it's him because he's brilliant. You know what I mean? But with that said, I'll just do it myself, man. I can't wait for them to, as I'm standing at the bus stop. COVID was horrible. I was waiting because when COVID started, we just wrapped up the 3rd season of Junkyard Gold, right? And they says, well, we're going to take about a month off. We'll start again. And then I'm waiting and waiting and nothing. And then you know, they said, hey, nobody called you? Yeah, what? No, they're not doing it. Well, great. You know, so I was the last one to know the show was canceled. It sucked. You know what I mean? You know, that's such a lovely feeling. So now everywhere I go, people, oh, I love your show. Well, thank you for watching. But they're 2 years old. But thank you for watching. Keep watching. But there won't be any more. But thank you for watching. You know, just kind of weird.
But now you're current, you're live, you're hitting the stuff every day. So it's like, bro, that whole Motor Trend thing is in the past. I'm telling you, you will just give it a little time, and your channel is going to explode. Yeah. Because you're like so ground zero to the biggest. Like I dance around the map between like drag race stuff and like hands-on how-to, and I do some history stuff, and I do some of this, and I do some of that, and I do some of the other stuff. You are more focused on the historical trivia of the muscle car, the classic car, muscle car era, and that's so much of a God. You've got to potentially, you will have 1 million subs. I'm going to say within 2 years, maybe 3 years, you'll be at that 1 million sub mark, because your channel has much greater potential than mine does.
Yeah, just keep telling the stories, and just keep working is what I hope to do, you know. So it's a good thing, you know. Yeah, I'm glad for it. So but had a good week, and then today went to the Stafford Springs, Connecticut swap meet, an outdoor show. Now last night at 2 a.m. it was pouring rain. I'm thinking I'm not going to go to that thing. Well, I woke up at 5, and well, it's nice. So I went there today, bought a bunch of neat stuff, and we'll do some show and tell if you want later on or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like.
Well, first tell us about. Well, I want you to talk with our viewers here, you know, because I know they've got questions and things they want to talk to you about. But before we do that, and Kat, keep an eye open for. I got Uncle Kathy sitting over here manning the chat.
Keep an eye open for what?
Good stuff that you.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't know what you were talking about for a second.
Tell us about the car you bought, because when you described it to me on the phone, I was like, ooh, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
I got a bug for those things.
Okay, well, let's see. There were 280 cars in the stash, right? So Spanky Assiter, you know, you remember Spanky if you ever watched the Barrett Jackson auction, sold, and his wife Amy with the pretty gal, with, you know, she was out in the audience yelling and stuff. He left Barrett Jackson about 4 years ago, and for 15 years he was the auctioneer. Anyway, so he's hired to sell this thing, the John Haney collection. Anyway, I go out there last May, and I shot 150 walk-around videos. One of the vehicles I fell in love with. It was lot 142, a 1962 Dodge Dart police car, right? Basically one of these things, right? So I bought this online, but it's one of these things. Now, here's the thing. They were available with 3 engines, the Slant 6, the 318 with a 2-barrel or a 4-barrel, and the 361, and of course the Max Wedge. But that's not really, it's not a cop thing at all. So this one is a 318 2-barrel. It's kind of too bad it's not a 361, but it's.
Well, the 361 was available in a couple of different versions, because there's the 2-barrel, the 4-barrel, and then a dealer installed dual 4-barrel, which was the same setup that they used on the 62 343 horse 383.
Yeah, the dual quad wagons and stuff. See, here's the deal. Let's see, where's the. Let's see this. I love these. Is that going to focus?
Not really.
It ain't going to go. Okay, well, that's all right anyway. But this is basically the car. But the beauty of it is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a 512-inch Max Wedge and just have it be a Max Wedge 4-door. But the car it has a Texas suntan. What does that mean? Surface rust, but no structural rust at all. I gave $5,000 for the car, and I said, no problem. I said, guys, will you pull this thing out of the auction? 2 months ago, I bought it because I didn't want to be like an inside trader guy. You know what I'm saying? So I said to the family, hey, look, I want to give you $5,000 for that car if you don't put it in the auction. Would you do that? And I thought to myself, you know, $5,000's a fair number. And the reality is, it probably would have sold for about $1,200 if I'd really had done it on auction day, because the stuff around it was selling for $800 to $2,000. So I screwed myself. But that's fine. If I saw that car down the street for $5,000, I would have snapped it up. So anyway, it's you know, it's coming. It's going to be too bad.
The thing with those cars is the rust. See, like if you got one of those, it's rust free. That's right, because those cars, Chrysler didn't really have it very tight in those days. The metal is thin. There's no treating of it. Those things would rust from the inside out. Like for instance, the trunk lids. The trunk lids would rust. There's the bracing under the trunk, and they would actually rust from the bracing in the trunk lid up, and it would just bubble up, and that back lip, you know, where it kind of folds over, where it melds into the rear not balance, but you know what I'm talking about, between the
Yeah,
taillights.
yeah.
That whole thing just disintegrates.
Yeah.
So if you've got one of those that's rust free, it's like you have a real unicorn.
Yeah, the only crazy part is I did the video. If you get a chance, it's actually there's a video. If you go to the Steve Mag's YouTube channel or the Dodge Garage of all things, you know, Dodge, they're great people. I love those guys. And all summer long for 19 weeks, they allowed me to pump the auction, and they got good content. They were happy. But what I would do is just round up 5 cars every week and say, hey, coming up soon, you know, the Great Texas Mopar this week, here they are. So if you go back a while, it's lot number 142, and there's actually a walk around video. You can watch it on. In fact, yeah, if you go to the Asseter auctions, Freedom Car Auctions, go to that, and lot number 142, and you'll see a walk around before I bought it. But the thing of it is, the quarter panels down low had no rust at all. It's on flat tires, but usually it could be the floors and trunk are gone. But I doubt it. When the quarters are good and the bottom of the fenders and rockers are good, more often than not, the floors and stuff are cool. And beyond that, I'd rather do floors and trunk than quarters, and the quarters are mint on this thing. So anyway, and the other, it has 11-inch drums. It has a radio delete, 120 certified speedo. It's a cop car, you know. So
what was it originally, the motor?
A 318 two-barrel, still in it. Yeah, 318 two-barrel. Yeah, I was hoping it'd be a 361, but again, it'd be a max wedge four-door. And the crazy thing is, when the 413 max wedge came along in mid '62, there was a press release that said ideal for police use. What? Yeah, so I'm going to play that. You know, I mean, it was never used for cops. I mean, maybe some Buford Pusser guy had one or something like that.
Well, a lot of people don't know the 413, the max wedge, was available across the board in any body style.
True.
It wasn't limited to it wasn't just a factory race car. It was like if you wanted a station wagon, you know, a Polaris station wagon and a Polaris was a B body in those days, with a max wedge. Well, I mean, that was it. Just check off the box and boom, there it is.
Yeah, convertible.
Yeah. Convertibles, you name it, anybody still they put it in. And the tribute, like my personal connection to it is the 413 Max Wedge. The very first one rolled off the assembly line the day that I was born, May 15th, 1962.
That's cool. That's cool. For me, July of '64 was when the race Hemis first made their appearances on, like, I think the Troy Drag Race or whatever. Yeah. I know. I feel the same way about the connection. You know? Yeah.
All right, so Fubar just put up the link to your channel. So everybody, if you're watching this, just stop watching this for a minute and go over there and sub to his channel and hit and ring the bell, you know, so you get all of the notifications. It's a perfect way to have coffee in the morning. I do it every morning. See, I sit down, I have my coffee, I pick up my phone, I've got my notification that you posted a video, and you're my first encounter with the outside world, man. Every morning I'm watching your videos.
Yeah, cool. But and it's funny, we do like I keep getting these people say do longer ones. My videos now are between 3 and 6 minutes. I just don't want to do like an hour-long sermon. Do people? I mean, a podcast is one thing. What's the sweet spot for video length? What do you think? What do people want to stick around for?
Okay, for what you're doing right now, my experience, I can't speak for everybody. I can only tell you what my experience was. The first, I want to say 50 to 100, someplace in that range, 50, 75 videos we did were all in that quick format, that 2 and 3 minute format. And that's how we got as much traction as we did.
Okay.
Then once the sub numbers started coming up and we tried all different things, right? So, but once we figured out what the vibe was, what you do in those short videos, what people had the most attention to, and so on and so forth, then we started doing the longer ones. Yeah. So for you right now, until you get like maybe like 15 or 20,000 subs, keep pumping out the short videos. They're quick, they're easy. People will click on them just because they're 2 or 3 minutes. Like they don't have to commit to it. If they don't know who you are or they've never heard of you, like a lot of people that had no, who the hell is Uncle Tony? I didn't go into it with my real name, you know, so it's like I had no ready-made audience. You have the advantage of name recognition, you know. But if I were you, I would keep doing it. The short 2-3 minute videos, because strangers who don't know who you are, they don't mind clicking on a 2 minute video. They'll take a chance on a 2 minute video because, you know, it may or may not be good. If it's a 12 minute video, they'll just skip right by it because they've never heard of you. They don't know. They're not going to waste, and they're not going to invest their time. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I think you're doing great. And once you get 15, 20,000 subs, then throw a 10 minute one out there, a 20 minute one. But we found that between 12,
I think 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes is about the max. Yeah. You'll start to see the viewer, like interest just plummets after 15 minutes.
People can't stick around, or there's something pops up and, oh, the Titanic sinking. They click on that. I get it. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff showing up that's cooler. Or it seems to be. It seems to be. Yeah.
Now, just like YouTube insider stuff, right? Your 8-minute mark, when you start doing this, your CPM goes up.
What's CPM?
Because that's how you get paid.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, because they run 2 ads instead of 1, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. At 8 minutes, they start really piling stuff up on, and 12 minutes is the sweet spot for maximum exposure as far as YouTube is concerned.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a question here.
We have a question here.
All right.
What is the
Okay, Vince Rensher.
okay?
Steve, at the auctions, what cars are you surprised they are worth so much? Conversely, what are the good deals?
One more time.
What cars are you surprised they are worth so much?
Oh well, I will say this, that it seems like everything has its day. I like to say that the collector car world is a conveyor belt with a spotlight shining down on it. Everything eventually goes under the spotlight. And right now, crazy but true, 240Z Datsuns.
I love those cars.
Yeah, clean Supras, half-ton Toyota, well, like quarter-ton Toyota and Datsun pickup trucks that are bone stock. Those are getting money. So it comes down to the stuff we remember when we were young. And now that people are 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, the stuff from the 80s is heating up. The IROC Zs are heating up. The Mustangs are heating up. And again, it's all about original cars, not necessarily low miles, but a good restoration, just pure stuff. Modified Supras, modified stuff like that, not so much, but like a BMW M3 without modifications, red hot. So it just seems that, stock vehicles, everything has its day eventually. So that surprises me, but it doesn't at the same time, and it's funny because, at Barrett, when I started at Barrett Jackson 16 years ago, 5-liter Mustangs were in the parking lot. And now they're not, and the same thing Craig Jackson says, that when he started at Barrett Jackson in 1970, 72, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the Ram Air GTOs were in the parking lot. So were the Hemi Cooters, you know what I mean? So everything eventually finds its way into the limelight because attrition takes out the good ones. Next thing you know, there's fewer. And then sometimes people just recognize, hey, that's a cool car. Why did we junk it? Or you know what I mean? But there's more people now, I think, that are saving their cars, which is good and bad. It's good because the cars exist and they're around. It's bad because, with mint examples everywhere, they won't ever be rare. And that's okay too. I say let them, but the demand is always there. That's the beauty. There's a lot of people with money to buy cars. But so I mean, the ones that don't make sense to me, well, like when you see, I don't know, like it's like a B210, a Datsun B210. Remember those things? Not a compelling car, but a really clean, unmolested one could be like 18 grand once in a while because they're not everywhere. But that just doesn't make sense. But somebody wanted it, they bought it, and 18 grand is the number.
In the middle of 1970s in New York, those things were ubiquitous. They were everywhere.
Yeah. Usually green. Remember that? There's swimming.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. With the tan interior.
Yeah, and the honeybee and all these weird little things and stuff.
Yep.
And RX-7s. I mean, everything has its day. And I guess what I'd say is if you have a neighbor who's got some really fill in the blank that's clean and unusually clean that stands out, grab it and sell it at the auction. I'll say this though, the Barrett Jackson auction, it's the premier place to sell things because Craig does a very good job of getting more bidders than cars. He's very good at that. And people go there because they know they're going to get good merchandise, whatever it is. And they also know it's a no reserve show. Meekum's a good auction too, but that's often reserve. And there's a psychology that happens when it's a no reserve auction. People are going to bid. When there's a reserve, people say, I'm not going to bother. The guy probably wants too much. Why bother? But when there's no reserve, people smell blood and they bid. Often to at least or more what it would have gone with a reserve. But not all. I just don't know. So I mean, as an observer of that, and a lot of people say, "Oh, that Barrett Jackson, it's ruining the auction, ruin the hobby, ruin it." I will say this: I'm thrilled that cars are overvalued versus undervalued. Because when I got to California back in 1991, there was crush campaigns on, and old cars were called gross polluters and clunkers. That was the term for old cars: gross polluter or clunker. That was the mentality that the world was being told. Not true, but they were crushing old cars. It was horrible. So I would say, if that Barrett Jackson's wrecking the hobby, good, versus crush campaigns, good. You know what I mean? And the reality too is that when the guy wants $8 billion for his 4-door Nova with the 6-cylinder power glide, the world will tell him, because he won't sell it, that it's really worth $6,000. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, eventually you just got to pick a little harder at the bargains, you know. But you know, that's my take on it, you know. So yeah.
This is a little shift in gears, but I'd like to know this too. What's on the to be? Steve, can you describe what the Hyperpack Valiant was like to drive? Do you miss it? And would you like to do another someday?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. This well, I had a Hyperpack engine, as you know. Clifford reproduced that manifold. Doug Dutra and Clifford sort of collaborated on remaking the manifold. That manifold, as you know, was from 1960-61, the baby grand Daytona stuff, Lee Petty, Richard Petty, that whole thing. And the manifold is good. The thing is, it's the 225 slant 6. Has the same cylinder head as the 170. In other words, the ports and valves are ideal for a 170, but on a 225, it's a cork, right? So, and a 225 doesn't rev over 5,800 RPM happily at all. I mean, not much. So what you have in a Hyperpack is something that between 3,000 and 5,000 RPMs is a lot of fun. Below $3,000, there's not much torque. I always hit 391s in those things, or an 8 3/4. And a torque flight typically with a 3,000 converter. So in a light car, I always had them in 62 Valiants, 4-door, then a 2-door. And I also had aluminum block and stuff. But the bottom line is that the Hyperpack's a good manifold. And there's a lot of folks say that, oh, they don't own idle, they're bad. I always had an Edelbrock 500 on the thing right out of the box. And it was fine. You know, it was no problem. You had to keep it lit when it was cold, you know.
Right.
And
I can imagine.
Yeah, I drove in California too, so I don't know what it's like on a 5-degree morning. I don't know why you'd be driving one on a 5-degree morning, but you know, but they might grow ice inside. I don't know what, but the funny thing is that you drive that thing around in LA. I used to cruise around and stuff. You pull into the parking lot, whatever it was, put your hand on the bottom of the plenum. It's cool to the touch. So that thing really, it's kind of weird. Even after it's heat, so the bottom of the car is that far from the engine. It's cool to the touch on a warm day. So
that's the magic of carburetors versus fuel injection, because the carburetor, the mixture is actually being cooled as it's coming through. You know, the atomization process drops the temperature of it.
Yeah,
where you don't get that. You know. So you got anything else, Pip?
Let's see. I'm looking. Straight Six fan says, "Oh my God, I'm happy to see this combo."
What's going on, guy? they have a channel. They do a lot of stuff like this.
Okay.
Actually, we were on the Straight Six fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But do I need to do another? Nah. I would say if you've been through all the V8s, build a slant 6. But if you want to have bang for the buck, build a 360. Just get that done. You know.
There's nothing like a slant 6 though. I'm having fun with mine.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of the videos we've done?
I have. Yes. Yeah. Are you driving around?
It finally came around. You know.
Yeah.
It's hurt because I spun a couple of bearings. I oil pan. I made a mistake with the oil pan. So as soon as it accelerates hard, right? Yeah. All the oil just gets thrown to the back and immediately sucked up by number 5 and 6.
Oh,
so
okay.
I heard it. I threw a couple of bearings in just to you know keep the tuning thing going, but I can't make passes with it. It will throw a rod. I'm surprised it didn't throw a rod out in the parking lot. But it finally came around. It snaps and it rocks. So
yeah, you got gears in it. You got gears and stuff, or a converter. What transmission?
It's a torque. It's a regular 904 with a 4,000 RPM converter and a 410 gear in the 7 1/4 rear.
Nice. Okay.
And the car weighs 2,100 pounds.
Where'd you get a 410 for a 7 1/4? Mopar Performance, or
you can get 410 for a 7 1/4 anywhere, but I got this set from Randy's Ring and Pinion.
Okay, Randy's. Yeah.
But it really needs 456s. Wow. So I got to play around with that. But for right now, I'm going to take it all apart, do the crank, and reconfigure the oil pan, and be ready to go for the first of next season.
Cool.
Okay.
Dakota's Timeout wants to know, ask Steve what some of the best deals was for that auction.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's kind of at the top of my head. I did 10 hours on Wednesday and then 12 hours on Thursday. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but if you get a chance, just go back, go to I think Freedom Car Auctions is about to print a printout, but I guess I'll say that 70 GTO for $200 was astonishing. And it was also, there was a 64 Dodge 4-door with a mint front clip, a little bit of rust in the floors. I think it was a slant six. It was like $800, mint clip. The grill was worth that money, so that happened over and over. So, but at the same time, the average price, I think $2,300 was the average price times 2,800, or sorry, 280 cars, so so it was okay. Some things went for like 30 grand, that kind of stuff, but a lot of stuff was very, very affordable. One thing that broke my heart was there was a Dodge A100 van with doors on both sides, a walkthrough. It was a window van, doors on both sides, and the VIN was number 819. It was a 64, like the 819th A100 ever made, right? I think it was like $2,300. It was nice. It was rust free. I should have bought that thing. You know what I mean? That happened over and over. I'm like, I should have bought that. But the downside is, I'm in Massachusetts. Everything that I bought, I have to add $2,000 to get it home. So that was the bummer. There was a lot of $800 2-door Mopar B bodies and stuff like that. Like there was a 64 Plymouth Belvedere 2-door post. Now most 2-door post was for boys, but it's a Belvedere, a little more chrome on the sides, but it had been rolled over. Not horrible, fixable. I think that was like $1,300, rust free. Yeah, wow. So anyway, and one thing I hope ain't going to happen is crushers didn't buy these things, because there's no doubt probably about 20 or 30 vehicles will be crushed on site. Some of them are like 61 Chrysler Windsor with the front clip gone. That's going to get crushed on site. The stuff like that, 4-doors.
Dakota says he would have carried them out on his back.
Yeah, it's tempting. Yeah.
Mr. Will, thank you, Mr. Will. Hi, Steve. Do you see 85 to 87 Olds 442 going up in value in the next few years? Those are beautiful cars.
Yeah.
I recently bought a one-order 87 442 with 13,000 original miles with original everything, even tires, in a strong number 2 condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think they're already, like, I would say, I try never to quote a price, because you're either going to make somebody really happy or piss them off. You know what I mean? But Grand Nationals and Monte Carlo SSs are hot, and so too are 442s. So with a low mile original piece like that, absolutely, they're not going to go down in value. That's a for sure. I would imagine 14 to 15,000 bucks on that car, maybe something like that. Is that what you paid for? Because that's kind of ballpark. If you paid 7 or 8 or 9,000 for it, you did very well. I'd say 14, 15, 16, 25, 30, maybe later, but not now. But they're not 500 bucks anymore. That's for damn sure. But or even $2,000. But
I just gotta. Where was that bottom shot one? Just to get off topic for 1 second, Steve.
Sure.
Bottom shot, just my time. Grenaded a few 700 quarters. At least you're spending more time under the car than racing. There's nothing to grenade, man. I welded the spider gears, so it's the same as having a spool. The axles aren't really stressed because, like I said, the car weighs 2,100 pounds. Yeah. So, and you're not talking about a lot of horsepower. You're talking about maybe 250, 275 horsepower or thereabouts.
It's usually the spider gears. The spider gears take the crap. So if you're welding up, you're good. Yeah. I'm sure it's not much fun, driving around town and in rain and stuff. But then again, that's not your point. Yeah.
No, it's a drag-only car. Yeah. It's a drag-only car.
What do you think? 13s, or what do you think? What kind of quarters do you think?
I don't want to say until it actually goes out there.
Yeah. But, yeah. I will say that my Hyper Pack, it was aluminum slant 6 in the thing. Aluminum block or aluminum head too. I built an all aluminum slant 6, kind of crazy. I think we talked about that. I won't bore you.
I remember seeing that in the magazine.
Yeah, it ran well. The only problem is with the aluminum block, you sort of, if you're beating on it or drag racing, you're just waiting to blow a gasket, and eventually you probably will. Or if you do, you'll say, I shouldn't have raced it. But anyway, I found that like mid-15s were as good as it got. Then I put nitrous on it. I got 13.9s out of it. Then I burnt a piston. I was using eggy pistons, and it cooked one of them, whatever. But yeah, 15s are all right. But some of those guys, like the Buzz and Half Dozen and Dutra, those guys, they're going 12s with a slant 6. But
actually, they're running in the 11s.
Yeah. They got some really good. Yeah, but if you're going 15,
normally aspirated. A lot of people keep throwing up. Oh, yeah, this slate 6s are running in the 9s. Yeah, but they're either turbocharged or nitrous.
Right.
Normally aspirated cars, bottom 12s, high 11s is like out there. That's running hard. You're down in elite crowd.
And you're 21.
Like an ET.
Yeah, 2,100 pounds. Yours is.
Mine's 2,100 pounds.
Oh, that's gold. Yeah, they're going to be out. You're probably you go 13s like that. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe more. I don't know. I don't want to curse it, but
I'm not gonna say how fast
Yeah.
I think. I know how fast it should go and how fast I think it'll go. I know how fast it'll probably go.
Yeah.
So, but that'll all be seen next year.
Right.
You know?
Catch in the bag. Keep it there for now. I hear you.
All right, let's see. Let's see. Kat, you see anything?
Yeah, Feast Japan.
Feast Japan. Feast Japan.
Says, hi Tony. Steve, just seen a video on the 79 Cordova. You mentioned the 300 series had short grip posi. What ratio would that have been?
321 or a 359. Probably a 321 in those cars, the 9 1/4. Yeah, those are neat cars. I got to say, in California, I spent 17 years out there, and I probably saw 20 of those 79 300s in the boneyard. It broke my heart every time, but they just weren't appreciated out there. But we saw one a couple of weeks ago at Burnston. It was rusty and stuff, but yeah, they're good cars. Yeah. Last gasp.
Zach Braps. Yeah, listen. We actually have a really good mic, but we were having problems getting the audio to come through, so we had to unplug that mic, and then we're just using the one that's on the camera. Technical difficulties. We'll work it out. Uncle Kathy is on it.
Not really.
Uncle Kathy.
Okay. Steve, do you still own the Wilshire Shaker?
No, that car I sold to some people in Chicago, and I haven't seen it anywhere. I sold it probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. And no, I haven't seen it. I think they sort of tucked it away. But
well, tell people what that was, because that was a neat project.
Yeah. Well, that was a Chevy Nova 1963. I was at Hot Rod magazine, and when you get to be on staff at the magazine, if you pitch the editor and you do your stuff and you're a good boy, you can build a project car. So I said, hey, I'd like to build an altered wheelbase car, and I'd really like to do a Coronet, but he says, well, can you do a Chevy? All right. So I found a 63 Chevy. I bought it from Will Hensel, who was a Hot Rod staffer for many years. And it was a 63 two-door, just a Nova. And so I turned it into a sort of a typical altered wheelbase match racer from the 66 era with 502 with Hilborn fuel injection. They were electronic, not mechanical, because I drove it on the street. Although I got a wheel cap adapter, put a 727 torque flight push button, manual valve body, Art Car built it behind the wrap motor, Ford 9-inch rear axle, Chrysler Supersonic springs, straight axle, little leaf springs, and turn it into a less is more, like a match racer kind of thing, like you would have seen running 9s or something like that on the gas circuit with injectors. And I drove it around in the street and stuff. So I had that car for 10, 15 years, something like that. It was good fun. But it was
I've seen that car with the wheels up. Were you ever able to get the wheels up on the street?
Well, on the street, no, it had to be on something sticky. That was a weird ride. I drove that thing. It's Irwindale drag strip out in Irwindale. That's an 1/8 mile track. It would dangle the front tires. But when I brought it to New England or Lebanon Valley, I moved cross country when I owned that car. So I moved back to Massachusetts, and I took it up to Lebanon Valley. Really sticky, and that car was weird. If you took off the fan belt and removed the exhaust system, it was wheels up. You had to put your thumb on 2, so at $6 grand push 2, otherwise bang, it would come down. But but that was fun. Just it would gracefully settle back down. It would run what did it go 11 1s, 11 2s at 118. It wasn't a killer. I didn't need to go 8s or 9s and something like that. But
it was something you're driving. I mean, that's
a little street car. Yeah, it had a little tiny. It never overheated. It was a great little car. I just drove that thing on Hollywood Boulevard and Beverly Hills, Wilshire Boulevard. I drove it all around and shit, just freaking people out. It was fun, But I had my fun with it. I might build another one. Who knows? Because they're making Chevy Nova bodies now. And if I ever, if I ever make billions of dollars, whatever it is, I'd like to recreate a bunch of match bash cars. But the Nova is a fantastic little shell. Less is more. Just alter the wheelbase on like those Dynacorn things. You can whip one together.
It's such an easy one to do too, with the bolt-on front clip and all. It's like literally you can bolt together a straight axle car.
That's right.
Literally bolt it together. It's probably the easiest one in the world to do.
An injected rat with a torque flight or a 4-speed, and you're in business. Yeah,
Was that a mechanical injection or electronic?
It was electronic. Yeah, it was Hilborn. Yeah, with Electromotive was the electronics, and the only sour note was it had the fuel rails, which whatever, But there they are. These days they now have electronic fuel injection, which has flexible high pressure lines that look like rubber, and they hide the fuel rails, which is kind of cool. But when the rails are there, that kind of gives it away. But hey, whatever, best I could do.
Mopar Den, thank you, Mopar Den. Great to see Steve back on UTG again. With all of Steve's cool cars mentioned, what does Steve use as a daily driver?
Well, I have a 2004 GMC Sonoma with a 4.8 LS motor swapped into it, and a 4L60, 10 bolts, rear axle 410s, one legger. It'll burn all day. I bought it from these guys at Next Gen Performance in Spencer, Mass. It's not. I didn't build it. It was their shop truck. I did a story about those guys in Carcraft. A few of them actually. Next Gen Performance, the Buzzle brothers, good dudes, Massachusetts. And the thing I love about those guys is they're like 25 or something like that. They look like they're 10. So like young people building hot rods. It's so cool. So I put them in Carcraft a bunch of times, putting motors together, whatever they were doing, LS stuff. And I say, hey, that truck's kind of cool. You want to sell that thing? Yeah, sure. So I bought it a few years ago. So that's the daily driver. I also have a smart car. I had a girlfriend for a while, and she was a bad girl. I got her license back after a few DUIs. So as a gift, I got her the smart car. So she drive that thing around, puttering around and stuff. So she left. I still have the car. But and I also have a Volvo wagon, a 2000, I don't know what, a V70. Who knows? Who cares? It's just some Volvo wagon. Runs good in the wintertime. But,
generic stuff, just generic driver stuff.
Yeah. I used to have slant six darts. In fact, when I first moved back here, I had a 63 Dart, but it was I felt horrible exposing it to salt. It was a nice California car too, but I sold that. Slant six push button car.
You should do something with that smart car, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's I got to say, it's a well-designed little critter. I like it.
It'd be even better with a Hayabusa motor in it.
That would be cool. Or the smart. There's a Brabus edition with 101 horsepower. There's a little turbo monster. The one thing about the smart car, I feel a little less pansy because the Sunoco uses those at the NHRA races to tote fuel drugs around. So I feel a little more damn when I drive it because I was going to get a big Sunoco jug, put it back in the thing with nitro and drive around like that. But yeah.
What you got, Kat?
Sorry.
Kathy's like sleeping at the wheel over here.
No, I'm not. I'm reading. Let's see. Let's see. Steve, we'll be doing an in-depth video of your Fairmont. We'd love to see how you built.
Well, I did do a look at the Fairmont engine. About if you go to the Steve Magnante YouTube channel, there is about a 6-minute thing. I just described the 4.6 camera motor in it and how I transformed it into kind of a match bash lookalike with Hillmore, Australian 8 stacks and stuff. But it's a good point. I might do a walk around on that. Although I will say that when COVID was on, Motor Trend, which I was deeper involved with those guys, and if they want to come knocking, I'm here. But anyway, whatever. But we did a thing called working from home. And in one of those Motor Trend working from homes, I did 2 of them. I did do a deep drive around with the Fairmont. We looked at it, did burnouts and stuff like that. So if you go to a Motor Trend working from home, Steve Mags, you'll see the Fairmont driven around and stuff. But I might do another one. It's never.
You still have that car?
I do. Oh yeah, it's in the garage. It needs a clutch. It's kind of funny. You can bang first and second, but if you're in third or fourth or overdrive and you whale it, it runs right through it. You can smell it. So it's kind of weird. You can still rip first and second, but when you're really loading it, it's all done. The mechanical advantage, all that stuff. So
has that ever been to the track?
It never has. No, the crazy thing with that one is it doesn't have a roll cage, none of that NHRA stuff. So it feels like a high 12-second car. It scoots, but I've never been to a track. A couple of guys I've lined it up here and there, and it's high 12s, I think, maybe.
This is actually Otto's got a good question over here. Auto auctions. Which make and model makes the most appearances, and which make and model draws the highest bid?
That's a good one. I would say
that is a good one.
Yeah, either 69 Camaro, 67 Corvettes, or like Mustang, 67, 89 Eleanor Mustang kind of thing. Those 3 are always on the block, and you kind of think you never see another. How many variations are there on those things? So I would say probably the Corvette, probably 5, 6, 7 Corvettes, probably the frequent flyer. I mean, excluding late model prestige cars, Bentley Continental GTs. I don't know those are everywhere. They're all, they're very popular. But again, those are usually feeder cars for the auction. The dealers bring in their late model prestige cars and sell them. So a lot of Bentleys, but in the collector car world, I'd say probably first gen Camaro is the number.
Right. So I got a question for you that you may not want to answer, and if you don't, just say I'll pass on that. Okay. All right. You've been around on these auctions now for how long?
16 years.
How many cars have you seen go over the block?
Oh, thousands, like thousands.
How many have you looked at before they went over the block?
A lot.
How many have you cringed at as they were on the block and the bidding started going?
A lot, a lot. What I'll say is, they always tell you, assume the worst, and basically, there's no guarantees, no warranties, anything like that. And some of the cars, especially the feeder cars, the early cars like that, I always, it's a TV show, and I say accentuate the positive. I'm not there to say it's a numbers matching car. If they say it's a numbers matching car, then I will describe that, but I'm not going to assume things like that. But I just make something positive, because I'm not there to say, wow, what a toilet this thing is. But there are some cases. I will say this: early, when I was first couple of auctions when I was there, I didn't realize I'd be there for very long. I thought they'd throw me out the door pretty quick. And I said, this thing has more mud than a G.G. Allen concert. I said that. And if you know who G.G. Allen is, there's a reference.
I know exactly who G.G. Allen is.
So this guy, Rick Miner, he's a sharp dude. He's retired now, but he says, it is an earpiece. He goes, hey, Steve, who's G.G. Allen? Oh, he's a punk rocker, Rick. Okay, that's all.
He was a bit beyond punk rock.
Yeah, she's a punk rocker. Deceased G.G. Allen. Yeah, but yeah.
Did you ever see pictures of the funeral?
Was that? Oh yes. Oh yeah. Very low tech. Yeah. When they drop him, the fast motion. Todd Phillips, the movie they hated. You seen the movie?
No, G.G. Allen's funeral.
Yes. You've
seen the pictures of him in the leather jacket and the jock strap.
The bottle of Jack Daniels.
Posing with a bottle of like.
Yeah. It's dark. His eyes are all sunken. It's not good. Not a good look. Well, there's a movie called Hated by Todd Phillips, who later did Superman. Get it? It's an hour long. It's G.G. Allen alive. It's G.G. Allen. It's quite a movie. I'll leave it like that.
All right, wait. I just missed a super chat here. Actually, we got a couple of them. Yeah. Andrew Wilson, $10. Thank you, sir. Just want to say thanks to both of you. I'm 20 and restoring a 66 Coronet with a 383 727 and a slapstick. A slapstick? Well, unless you put it in, that wouldn't actually be a slapstick. The original shifter in that Coronet doesn't have a detent.
Yeah, that's right.
And drive, so wouldn't technically be a slapstick, but it is a console shifter, unless you put one in. Yeah. Which would you all use for rear gears for a cruiser 8 3/4, and are tubular uppers worth it?
You go first.
I'll go first. The 323s for a cruiser. It's for 383 to 727, 323 is like the factory performance gear. That would have been the one they'd use. Yeah. So 323, 355. And tubular uppers, no.
Yep, I hear you. I got to say, I'll go after you when you're done. All right. I would say, yeah, it depends on how big if you're going to run like 30-inch tall tires or something like that in the back, 355s, But if you're around town, go for some 91s. But if you got some freeway driving, 55s, 23s. But for me, it's funny, like Richard Ehrenberg, Mopar action. He's a grouch, but I still love the guy, right? And he always shakes his fist at all this aftermarket stuff for cars. The upper control arms from Chrysler are pretty darn good. Now, if you're going to go road racing and really load that stuff, but few people do. The tubular stuff's okay. It's not any lighter. And to be honest, tubular K-frames don't do much for you. I've had them before, and often what they do is they introduce a whole bunch of motor mount headaches. I'll leave it like that. But
I've seen too many of them break.
Yeah.
I've seen too many of them. I've seen them in person with cracks, and I've seen them online just broken in half and snapped. And then there's no real weight advantage. This factory K-frame is extremely well designed. Really seriously well designed piece.
And replacing torsion bars with coilovers and using the shock absorber upper mount to support the car, especially with a big block, it wasn't designed for that stuff. It's just one of the. It's fad of the week, and I get it. A lot of folks, man, I got to upgrade my suspension and stuff. Well, yeah, I'm a purist and a Luddite, right? A Luddite, whatever it is, And it's a thing where all that kind of disco sauce. I say, just you can either compliment your car or insult your car, and its history. I'll leave it at that. You know what I mean?
Some big guy working in his garage in Canoga Park is not going to come up with a more efficient front suspension setup than Chrysler did. It just ain't going to happen. Yeah. You can tailor it to do specific things, but for the overall package, like for instance, like the tubular control arms, right? If you're going road racing and boxing the lower control arms, you're going road racing, yes, that's a valuable thing. But if you're driving the car on the street, if you're drag racing, you will never, ever, ever in a trillion years find the kind of side loading that would make those things worth having.
Yeah, and there's the possibility, I suppose, that you'll certainly have more adjustability with your caster, your camber, with the threaded ends on those tubular things. Sometimes it's just enough to shoot yourself in the foot. So make sure
Exactly.
a really good alignment rack. I mean, a good forehead laser rack if you're going to mess with that stuff, because quite often the adjustment on those things is it's a loaded gun. You can mess it up real good. Whereas the factory stuff with the extensions, you can't go too far from safe.
I got a couple of Supras I got to get to. Straight six fan. Steve, I have a classic iron yard for you in Kansas to see. Steve, how would they contact you? What would be the best way to contact you?
My email is hemimagneto@aol.com. Just send me a thing, if you want.
What a great email address. Hemi Magneto.
Yeah.
All right. Now I got this one over here. Oh no, we did that one.
The only thing is, I got to say, the yard in Kansas, right now I'm not flying around. I'm doing stuff locally. But if Motor Trend wants to foot the bill and we go back on the road and that kind of thing, but it's likely I probably won't go. I'll just leave it like that, because there's a lot of yards in my backyard that right now I can mine for decades, and but there's one place in Idaho I need to go back to eventually because they're going to crush it. It's a lot of good stuff, but anyway. But the one in Kansas I probably won't go to. But thank you for thinking of me, put it like that.
Oh, wait a minute, I had another Super here. Hang on. Okay, we got Andrew.
Scroll down.
I'm scrolling down. Kat, what's that Super that I missed?
Mr. Will.
Oh wait, I think I see it.
You do see it.
There you go.
You got it.
Good question. Mr. Will. Thank you, Mr. Will. Steve, if you could travel back in time, order and purchase any car you want brand new, what would it be and how would you order it and why?
Wow. Well, maybe a 1966 Plymouth Belvedere one
with a 426 Hemi.
4-speed Hemi. Yeah, no radio, rubber mat. Yeah, why not? Or a 65 A990, or better yet, change my name to Ronnie Socks and get one of the altered wheelbase cars. That would be cool. Or a 65 overhead cam Mustang, a Holman and Moody car, one of six, that would be cool too. Or a 421 Super Duty Tempest in 63. I'll change my name to Beswick.
You're just like me. There's no way you can answer that question because there were, by the time you're done describing the first car, you were like, but wait, I could have, but wait, I could have, but wait, I could have. And it's just like, it's every car made during that period of time. I
think if I had in there, I made the 65 Sox and Martin Paper Tiger hardtop. I guess if I could have one car, that would be, I think, it. For the street, I'd detune it a little bit for the street. So I could go around and spread the religion. Or the car would do the talking. I would have to walk away and let the car do the talking.
The Belvedere one with a street Hemi would definitely be really close to the top of my list.
Yeah, radio delete.
And for some reason, I would want it automatic.
Wow. Okay. Well, you gotta have a Dana. You gotta have a Dana. That's just me. I need a Dana.
I don't know. There's just something about the column shift and the 426 Hemi that just does it for me.
It's kinky. I hear you. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Kat, we have another one, Kat?
Mm-hmm.
What do we got?
Nick Balestra.
I'm scrolling up. I see it. Thank you, Nick. Nick. Thank you, Nick. Steve, I have a 1969 AMC AMX 394 speed. Beautiful car, brother, man. How has the market been for these through the auctions?
Well, it's funny. I mean, a lot of folks watching Barrett Jackson, this is the weirdest thing. Sometimes we go to commercial on a very random basis. I mean, truly, there is no planning. There were several incidents where there's 3 AMCs ready to come up. Let's go to the commercial. We got a lot of heat for that, and that's not on purpose. I'll say that first. With that said, they're great cars. I mean, they're great. And crazy but true, the 390 was produced in higher quantities than the 343 or the 290, which is great. But I can't imagine buying an AMX with a 290, an automatic. They did it, but
well, insurance reasons.
Yeah, well, it's I guess like the 68, I don't bait and switch, and of course AMC. I mean, they were just inching their way into performance, and they thought a 290 was a big deal. You know what I mean? Because they were very conservative. But the 390 Go Pack would be the 68. Those are and 9. They're great cars, and the market on those it's getting stronger for sure. There's no doubt about that. They're great cars.
The only downside to any of the AMC muscle cars is parts availability.
Yeah.
Because it's like you need anything, and it's a gift from the gods, or this endless search, for a taillight lens, or like the things that are commonly reproduced, or just common in the secondhand market for Ford, Chevys, Pontiacs, the common things don't exist for AMC. So you've got a 69 AMC or AMX or whatever, and you need heater controls. It's like, what do you do? You need, it's like that's the only downside to them. Otherwise, I'm an AMC freak. I've always loved AMCs. Did you ever see, Steve? Just to get off on the side, have you ever seen the Roman from Regular Car Reviews, the history of AMC that we did?
I have not. No.
Oh man, you gotta, Mr. Roman.
Okay.
Right. From Regular Car Reviews did a thing on the history of AMC. It's like 2.5 hours long.
Huh.
You would geek out over it.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Yeah.
All right.
I will say this one thing about AMCs. They got the torque flood, I think, in 71 or 2. Before that, any automatic AMCs get that darn Borg Warner. Oh, geez, it's a bummer. Stick AMCs. And the twin grip axle is okay. But yeah, AMCs are awesome. But the torque tube stuff, that's one of the things that's kind of a drag about those. Like the Marlins and stuff, they were torque tubes until 67. I think they finally had an open drive on them. But anyway, but they were great.
Once they got to the 68, 69, 70 era cars, with the AMXs and the Machine and the Ramblers, Scramblers, and all of that, with the exception of like weird ball joints and whatnot, they had actually become pretty standardized by that.
It's true. Yeah. It's
true. When you deal with the earlier cars, like you saw like a Marlin, and it's like, what the hell is this? Yeah. When you look on that car, it's like, what the hell is this?
We found on one of the episodes of Roadkill's Junkyard Gold, we found it was a classic 660, like a Marlin, but a sedan. They had the same nose as a Marlin. It was a 65. And it was a 327 four barrel with a 4-speed, a Borg Warner T10. Well, the tail shaft of that T10 had the weirdest flat face on it to hook up to the torque tube. And the coil springs and this weird 1939 Ford looking rear end, and not crapping on it. It's just odd. And unfortunately, if you really want to haul butt in that, you've got to do some getting rid of that stuff or work with it if you want. But
back in the day, AMC had really no choice but to buy from the lowest cost vendors. Yeah. So whatever rear end they could get cheap, whatever, or even if they were making their own housings, it's like whatever Harriers they could get cheap, whatever, and they made that stuff work. To their credit, I mean, those cars are actually pretty bulletproof. And the thing about them is they have a really unique feel. If you drive, okay, so Steve and I both we drive 60s cars. I mean, it's just a second nature, 60s and 70s cars. AMC cars from that era have a very, very distinct feel. Yeah. Like more so, I think, than like, okay, so like
they're large but small.
If you close your eyes, okay, like if you put Steve and I in let's say a 1967 midsize Ford, and then you close our eyes, you put ourselves in a Peabody Mopar, and then you do the same thing with a midsize Chevelle. We'll tell you what car it is, just based on the feel, the smell, the way the seat cushion feels, the way the sound of the transmission. There's all these little things that are unique to those cars.
Starter motor.
AMC cars from that era were actually the tightest feeling of the bunch. Yeah. You drive a 65 Rambler, 66 Ambassador, something like that. And those cars are actually extremely, they're almost truck-like. They're almost substantial. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. My first car was a 69 Ambassador 4-door. It was a Civil Air Patrol fleet car. It still had the seals, and for official use only, 323 manual transmission with radio delete. And it was a fleet car, but it was an Ambassador, full-size big. It was a neat car. And we used to drive around, listen to Black Flag and skateboarding and stuff, like giving the Civil Air Patrol a very bad name. But I still had the seals on it. But that was a neat car, my first car. And it was, but I know it was very substantial. Just
what I'm talking about, right? Even their smallest cars still had this solid feel to them. And it's like you get those oddball things like the torque tube rear and all, but I think that added to it. Yeah. It just tied the package together. AMC tried really, really, really hard. Like, you look back at their stuff and it's like a little weird, it's a little off, it's a little gaudy, it's a little, like, what the hell were they thinking? But honestly, they were thinking really hard. They were trying really hard. They just never got the support from the public. Like they just didn't have the flash bang that Chrysler, not even Chrysler, General Motors and Ford had.
Yeah.
But they were fantastic cars, and their engineers were absolute top notch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that right there. What a cool car that is, There it is right there, the 401 Matador. That's a great looking car. And right there, this is a brochure I bought today. But right there, the 401. That to me, one of my favorite emblems is the 401, that red one with the 3D thing. That's cool stuff. Yeah,
If I go to a show, I'm automatically drawn right to the AMC cars.
yeah.
I've seen as many Hemi Cudas as I ever need to see for the rest of my life. I've seen so many Superbirds. It's like, oh, please go away, right? AMCs, especially stuff like that. I geek out over.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I will say is I've had a few E-bodies, and they're kind of cheesy. The doors are that plastic crap, and the way they close the window, boom, 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 boom. I mean, I appreciate them, but if I think you might have written this once, if only General Motors had an E-body, because Mopar, they rushed it to market, I think, and that massive one-piece hard plastic door that looks like it should be soft and stuff, this big hard plastic thing, they were built to a price, but mechanically and engineering was wonderful. But I'm sure. Well, I realize this too. Every time we see a restored car at the auction or pretty much anywhere, it's like taking a song and remastering it and making it perfect and getting all the notes right on, like a Doors song, and just running it through a computer. That's what a restored car is, really, because it's way nicer than it ever was.
Than it ever was when it was new.
Yeah, it's a kiss on the cheek. It's a kiss on the cheek, but it's still not what the car was, because they were crude, especially on wind cars. Those things.
The thing about like the E-bodies and any of those, like Chrysler in that era was struggling for cash. They were the smallest of the big three for a reason. Like they really had no money, and so their bread and butter was fleet sales.
Yeah.
They knew that taxi cabs, police cars, stuff like that was their bread and butter. That was the bottom line that allowed them to experiment and play with different things. And of course, the higher end luxury cars. So New Yorkers and Imperials and whatnot, people bought them on the prestige level. But all of that middle ground stuff, and the E-bodies would be included, were like the bean counter's second thoughts. It's like, okay, we have a little extra left over here from our taxi cab fleet stuff. You know what I mean? And so here, put that towards developing the doors for these E-bodies, and that's how those cars ended up. That they were rattle traps.
Yeah.
They were beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you take like a 71 Challenger. In my mind, a 71 Challenger is it, or the 71 Cuda. Beautiful cars, but they were the cheapest, sloppiest rattle trap, like just
a Barracuda grill, that one-piece plastic junk that looks cool, but they sag and they turn to crap,
Right.
when they were new. And another thing too, if you ever see an unrestored wing car, Superbird or otherwise, the nose cone rarely, especially at Daytona, the nose cone doesn't match the body. How do people accept that? It's they just banged them out, and so when you see them today, they're restored. It truly is. It's like Jimi Hendrix, run through a sweeten machine and everything like that. It's a tribute. But it's not really what they were. That's why an unrestored original car is an interesting treat, sometimes a rude awakening. I'm less.
I have a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name. He's probably watching this, and I'm going to get him mad now. But he's already mad at me anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he's got a 70 Super B in his place, and it was original paint, unrestored, just original everything. And they put these like 17-inch wheels on it, and the Dakota dashboard, and it was like, I was like, why? What were you? It's like, well, when it really hurt the car, he says, no, you raped it, you violated it. You just,
well, some people don't know. You know what I mean? I mean, it's true, because it's I say to myself, there's things that I do in my life that probably. I wear purple and yellow sometimes. You know what I mean? I mean, not that you know what I mean, but there's always somebody who can say, "Wow, what do you do that?" But it is true. I just say that you can either insult or compliment the subject, and the difference, or you don't. But again, it can always be repaired. You're right, but
you and I are both purists and we're connoisseurs.
Yeah.
There are certain things you can do to these old cars, like day two things. You can get away with it, because the style of wheel, the size of the wheel, the proportion of everything, it kind of fits together. It blends. It's like it's okay, right? Like the people who were designing aftermarket parts in 1970 are of the same mindset of the people who drew the cars in 1970.
Yeah.
So it all kind of melds together nicely. But when you start taking modern era things and putting them in these older cars, you have these clashes of civilization,
Yeah.
and it's just like no matter how you look at them, it's like you squint and you turn and you twist and you blur your eyes, and it still doesn't look right because the proportion isn't there.
You know, one
Different
thing
design languages.
I do a little mind trip sometimes. I say, okay, imagine like a 2000, a brand new Demon or a Hellcat Challenger, right? Put 15x7s on it, rally wheels, and how weird that thing would look. This is the opposite. It's a twist on that. You know what I mean? I mean, modern cars are born for big rims and skinny
Right.
tires, you know?
Well,
But
it's like I tell people all the time, it's like, okay, so they want to put the 18-inch rims or 19, whatever size rims they want to put on these cars with the little rubber. And it's like, what you're not understanding is that when they drew that car out, okay, when they designed that car, they had a specific diameter of tire of black space that was going to be in there. Now, when you change that, it literally changes every aspect of that car. It never flows. You can't make it right. There has to be X amount of black space
right.
to what would be defined as the wheel for the fender to look right, or for the quarter panel to look right, or for the distance of things to look right. You throw that off, and it's like the paint too. Like those cars, very intensive paint lines. So think of a 68, 69 Plymouth, for example, right? So you got the creases over the wheels.
Yeah.
Right. People paint these things with modern paints, right? You know, a two-stage paint. They clear it and clear it and clear it, and it shines like nothing ever shined back then. But the problem now is that the body lines reflect into themselves. So when you look at the car from certain angles, instead of having a simple, nice crease, the simple, nice crease, and then underneath it, and then a shadow of that underneath it, and it destroys the look of the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those things were painted like refrigerators, and they really should look like refrigerators.
All right. Oh, I like this. He did put a slapstick in the car. Cool.
Yeah.
Clunk, clunk, clunk. Yeah. Nice.
The car was a factory poly 318 727, so I swapped a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome, Andrew. Good luck with that project, man.
And he's 20 years old. That's awesome.
That is. And we have a lot of young guns that follow this channel that love these cars, man. They get it. They get it. You know.
Cool.
What, Andrew? What did you pull that slapstick from? Because that was like 1970 and up, from the 71 B bodies and 70 E bodies.
And did you use the button or the knob? You know what I mean? There's the wooden ball out of a B body or the side thingy. You know, it'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm curious what mechanism he used on that.
Yeah. The whole console, probably, I would guess. You know.
Oh yeah, you could use it. Yeah, because it wouldn't fit in the taller 66, the 69, the 70 B body console. It wouldn't fit. It would have to be the lower one.
You'd have to replace the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay.
But one thing too, I got to say, those consoles. I had a 70 Barracuda, and my girlfriend put her elbow on the console, went right through us. Oh, they're so hard plastic. Come on, Chrysler. Well, anyway.
That's because I'm telling you, man, they spent all of their money making deeper floor pans on the taxi package cars.
Right.
And it was like when all was said and done, it's like, what's our budget left for interior accoutrement on these e-bikes? It's like, well, you got $600, make it work.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on. There's the story of the Duster, right? There was that was great. When they designed the Duster, they pushed the car through, okay? And it got to the final drawings and everything. Everything was approved. All the proportions, all the stampings were done. And now they had to start fitting everything into the car. And the windows didn't fit because the B body, the A body doors that they used, they had to use the same stampings as the Dart and the Valiant and all of that. But that takes an upright window. And on the Duster, the roof comes in. So they couldn't put a piece of curved glass in it. And they had to come up with all of these crazy, like linkage. That's why if you ever try to change a window glass in a Duster, it's like, forget about it. It's like a Rube Goldberg, like, you know what I mean? What the hell were they thinking? But it was because it was like one guy left when everything was said and done. They were like, okay, see that door, see that glass, make it fit. And he just sat there at his workbench and just kept screwing with things until I finally got it to go up and down.
Yeah,
that was Chrysler engineering in 1970.
Another thing about Dusters that drives me insane is the 7 1/4 rear axle. Initially, was born for 1960, the Valiant. They never made a wider version of it. So when that winds up under a Duster, it looks like the front track is this wide. Here we go. And the rear track is that wide. Look, just crabbing down the road. And that's normal, especially on disc brake cars. You ever notice that? It's like What the heck?
73, it's
Yeah.
noticeable on 70 through 72, but in 73,
Yeah, they ate a
especially
quarter.
on the disc brake cars, because they use B-body disc brakes on the things, it pushed the front wheels out to the outer, absolutely, you couldn't have those front wheels any further out. They like literally like kissing the fenders.
Yeah.
And then the import one is still using an 1860 Valiant rear end, and it's like you got the back wheels are here and the front wheels are here.
It looks like something's wrong, but that's what they were. I remember as a kid looking at this, it looked so wimpy. And then with the 340s, I think the 8 3/4 is a little wider drum to drum. But even okay, yeah,
it's exactly the same width as the 7 1/4, but the rally wheels have a deeper offset.
Yeah.
So and they're wider too. So it brings out, it's not as bad on those cars.
Yeah.
But when you look at like just a regular like 6-cylinder or 318 car, you know, it's like, oh
I
my
hated
God,
them.
what the hell were they thinking?
As a kid, I hated them because they just looked. It looked like something was wrong, but it was just using the rear axle, you know, without a change.
Okay, I got Clayton K. Sent $5 Canadian. Thank you, sir. What automatic shifter would you recommend for a street strip car on a budget? Have a C4.
Well, a C4 Corvette or a Ford C4 transmission?
A C4 transmission, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. B&M Star, one of those B&M ratchet shifters is pretty good.
Yeah, I used
manual valve body.
In Plan Z is actually pretty good. I'm trying to think of the it's not Transdap, it's it'll come to me in a minute. It's like 180. TCI, the TCI, right. The bottom of the barrel TCI shifter is actually pretty good. The only thing you gotta watch out for is if you pull it back down to first, don't pull it too hard because it'll jam there. So when you pull it into first, like, you know, be a little lady about it and just go click down in the first, and then when you go to second, bam, you hit it and she goes right in.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story. Actually, I had a '69 Dart 340. It was a GTS convertible. I bought this car from a guy, and it was a column automatic, kind of weird. Well, over the course of its lifetime, the original torque flight went away because somebody installed a floor shift and they drilled through the hole into the torque flight and kept going with the drill. And they drove it, and tranny fluid's pissing out. So if you're drilling the mounts for a floor shifter, don't go into the tranny. I'll leave it like that. So it can be done.
Andrew Wilson says it's out of a CUDA T-handle style with the color changing letters as you shift. No console. I'm going to make one. I'm learning a lot from my father. Andrew, just my advice, right? Just because I'm, you know, one of those people, make the console as small as possible. Like, don't make this big, huge console because it's going to look weird in there, right? But make a console, just a neat console, just to cover, or just a nice cover for the shifter. And it'll look clean. It'll look like purposeful. It'll look cool. It'll look like it belongs. But if you try to like put an E-body type of console in an early B-body car, I'm telling you, bro, it's going to look weird. I've seen so many efforts at that. Make a nice little tight console. It'll be very purposeful and cool. Okay. Well, Mr. Will. Okay, we got Mr. Will. Mr. Will, thank you again, Mr. Will. I do not like big wheels on old cars. I like day 2 cars, upgrades from their respective era. What do you guys think of day 2 cars? I love them. Day 2 is like, that's what I'm all about.
Yeah. Okay with me. Yeah. With period correct stuff is nice. I mean, don't you know, original thrush. In fact, today at the Stafford Springs, Connecticut swap meet, there was a pair of thrush mufflers with the paint on the side, said thrush in purple, and the paint and stuff.
Sure.
That's there for when they're selling it to you at the parts store. It burns off in seconds, and the guy wanted $500 for the pair because they were old and that kind of crap. So
well, you can't get those anymore.
That's right.
The ones that are labeled as thrush mufflers are actually Flowtech. They're like the same as the cherry bombs.
Yeah.
And you get they give you a thrush sticker.
Right.
Those original, unmolested, unbent, because the ends of those mufflers. See, a lot of people don't know this stuff, right? Those mufflers are actually very, very sought after. If they're virgin, they're worth that $500 because if you put them on eBay, there'd be a bidding war over them.
Yeah.
For you guys who don't know, these thrush mufflers were everywhere in the 70s. This was the muffler to have in the 70s, and they were just a can. It was a rolled piece of tin with some like household fiberglass packing in a baffled tube, and the ends of them would bend. It was like you could take this one universal muffler, this one can muffler, and just bend the ends to fit in any configuration that you needed it to. And they were everywhere. That was you couldn't have a street car, like a hot rod, whatever it was, whatever you want to call it, a street machine, in the 70s without having a pair of these thrush cans hanging underneath it.
Remember the purple hornies? I mean,
I have a set of purple hornies that I use. I rotate from. I've only got one set, so I rotate them from car to car when I need them. I got to put mufflers on something that's got headers.
Yeah.
The Kickendall. Thank you, sir, for even more horsey go-go power. Loving the live stream. Thank you, Kickendall. Hey man, I launched the transmission on the Eep Hero. I don't know what happened to it, but the transmission is gone. I'm just telling Kickendall because he's a Cherokee freak. Okay.
Oh, Jeep Cherokee?
Yeah, I have two XJs. I got one that I've been driving every day. It's a 98.
That's cool.
Two-wheel drive. It's loaded. It's got every option under the sun. And then I have one that's like this like refugee from the trails that's been rolled and it's just all hurled and stuff. So I'm gonna start trail riding with it myself. And I launched the transmission. I don't know how I did it. It just went away.
J. Russell Finch keeps asking, where is your Jerry Stein videos that Steve has put up?
Yeah, well, Jerry Stein. Yeah, we did a few years ago. We did the Dodge Dart road trip in 2014. Dave Hakeem and Dave Hakeem from Mopar Performance. You probably know Dave Hakeem, don't you? Right, Dave Hakeem and all. Yeah. Anyway, but we took a trip to Jerry Stein's and did two videos. So if Dodge still has them up, I don't know, but they were on the Dodge Garage or the Dodge Garage website. It was the Dodge Dart road trip. It was from 2014, so 7 years ago. We stopped at Jerry Stein's place. We had him drive the Dart, and we visited his Max Wedge, the teacher's pet car. So they may still be up. I don't know. I don't have control over those, but that's what those are. They're from the Dodge Garage, I think it was. They're still around, or the Redline Dodge website. They changed it, but that's where those were. Hope that answers your question.
Steve, one of my viewers, and I texted you about this. One of my viewers brought up the A990 fire car. Department car.
Right. Yeah.
And
one thing real quick.
I knew that was something that was right up your alley.
There you go.
We can hear, man.
It's funny. I bought a bunch of brochures today at the Stafford Springs. So you're talking about this stuff. Like, hey, I just looked at that like 5 minutes ago. So Kismet is fired up here, Oh,
bro, yeah. There's definitely a psychic thing going on.
Yeah, right. It's a good thing. So yes, okay. Getting back to that. Okay. Last time I was searching high and low in an issue of Cars magazine. Turns out it was in this. And what was it? This is what was it. Okay, it's this story here. Here's the first page. And if we look at that, we'll see it's a story about, if you look at the bottom, that is an A990 with the tail sliced off.
All right, Steve, hold your shoulder up. Yeah, go up a little bit. Up and closer. Closer.
Okay. There we go.
A little closer.
It's going to go out of focus.
There you go. Okay, yeah, now you can make out what it is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that right there. And I'll change the page. Okay, that was, and this is in, where the heck is this? Hang on. This is in, where the hell is it? Hang on. But this is, Central Islip, Okay, Central Islip, New York Fire Department, Hemi-powered tournament Class C rig used in open competition against other suburban department entries. Okay, here's more of it. Let's see, here's, this is more of the story. And is that ringing? Is that working?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the ladder that they got to use. So for you guys who aren't familiar with this, this was a competition that the New York fire departments used to have. All these different fire companies from these small towns within New York would have these competitions.
They did the grill. They cut the roof off.
Yeah, that's a legit 65 A990 super stock Hemi car that they cut the roof and the back quarters off of and turned it into a fire truck.
Can you see that?
Yeah, that's great.
Insane,
So what they would do is they would hook ladders to these things, okay, and the car and a fireman would climb on the back of it, and they'd make the car accelerate for like 300 feet.
Yeah,
and had to slam to a stop. Yeah, and then they had to grab the ladder, put it up, climb the ladder, do something else, get back down, and take off in the car again. And they time them. These were competitions. So these guys, these fire departments, went all out on their rigs, and they just like the cream of the crop hot rod stuff in the day, factory drag race stuff. This is what they were using.
Here's another one. This is a little later on. Look at this rig. This is a Hemi Challenger.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fiberglass car. Is that, you can see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see, hang on. Okay, you can see, yeah, there you go, right there.
Oh, great. Look at that.
And they get a Dominator on this thing. It's a Hemi with a Dominator. The next shot. Yeah, look at this thing. This is
That's
the Hemi with the Dominator?
that's beautiful.
My lens sucks. Is that me or what is that? The lens is sucking right there. But anyway, there it is. You can see the Dalmatian with the Dominator, the 4-barrel, some tough dude with his glasses on. That's cool. Now this one here is out of Hicksville, apparently. Hicksville, it says Lindenhurst Fire Department. Apparently, okay, it says here Lindenhurst has a Corvette. So these guys had to outdo it.
It was probably a ZL1.
Yeah, so it was war. And look at the torque flight with the zoomies on this thing right here. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know. Is that worth the crap? Is that working at all?
Yeah, okay. I got a good shot.
This lens sucks. Yeah.
You get the general idea.
Yeah. What? So this thing doesn't focus on its own, I guess, huh? That sucks. So I got to find the focal point. Oh well. Anyway, but yeah,
That's right. They got the. I knew you would have that stuff.
I had to look though. I had to sniff around, but yeah. But that's crazy. But yeah, there are videos online actually. They charge, they stop, and the ladder goes straight up. The guys climb right up in 3. It's like amazing,
Are they still doing it?
It's still a thing. It is still a thing. I was watching one of those world's wackiest video shows, those clip show things, and they did about 4 years ago. And I think at that point they were using it wasn't, I forget what the heck it was, but anyway, they still do it. Yeah. And there are some, they run. There's different ways they do it. But anyway, the ladder goes up, they climb the ladder in 3 seconds. It's pretty cool. Anyway.
I wonder if that A990 car is still in action.
You got to wonder. It's not that far in New York, I mean, well, here's the thing. If anybody remembers this car, the names of the people, I wrote the names. We got here, what's his name here? John Still, Johnny Zubal. I don't know who these guys are, but hey, John Still and Johnny Zubal, those are the guys who built this thing. And Joe McGurk. Joe McGurk was the driver of this thing.
That's crazy.
Back in the day. I don't know.
If any of those guys are still alive, they're in their 80s now.
Yes, that's right. That's the thing that's kind of sad is, yeah. I got on a plane one time going from LA to SEMA, and who gets on the plane in front of me is Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin. Somehow they were in LA for some reason, and they were going off to SEMA. I didn't say a word to them, obviously, but wow, holy smokes, Sox and Martin on this airplane. And they were like 60, 70, then, but anyway, yeah. Buddy's still alive. Buddy Martin's still alive. I'm pretty sure.
Jake King is gone though, isn't he?
Yeah, he was the first. I hate it. The first. I saw him at Galen Goldier was doing one of his seminars at Carlisle, and I'm sitting behind Jake King, and Galen puts out a bunch of his little white books. To be bought. Well, people grabbed them while he's talking to somebody. They took them without knowing. They didn't steal them. But anyway, there's Jake King in front of me, and he was dead within a year. It's kind of weird. And then Ronnie, that was 5-10 years before Ronnie Sox passed. So Jake, he didn't live long. I'll leave it like that. I don't know, whatever. Brilliant guy. Anyway.
672E says they're still doing it.
Okay.
Our department had a Scott Shafroff big black Chevy. Oh,
Okay.
Come to think of it, I used to hang around Scott's shop every once in a while. Did I do the super chat? I don't know.
In what? Is it like a rail or a car or what's that motor in?
Oh, let me get that. No, but I remember Scott talking about that.
Yeah.
Hang on now. We had a super and I lost it. I'm so irresponsible. Oh, I think I just passed it. There it is. Andrew Wilson. Small console for sure. Grew up loving Mopar. Dad has a 70 Challenger RT, 383 4-speed. My favorite combination for those cars since high school. Thank you again for everything. You're all awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Stop sending money, please. You sent too much. Thank you. I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it. But you're cool, man. Thank you. But yeah, that 70 RT, or actually 71 RT. I don't think was. Wait a minute. Now was it 70 RT 383? Or no, or I know 71 383 was an RT.
Yeah, 70, sure, 70. The 340 came along halfway through the year, which is a little weird, but
well, like in the Barracuda, in the Cuda series, the 383 4-barrel. No, okay, that was a Cuda. Okay, yeah, I'm just.
Yes, I do the same thing. It's like
brain fade.
You
run through so many different topics.
It's like a stack of coins, and you pull one out, and it's that is the wrong spot. No, that's the right spot. It's weird. I don't know. It's got to be an analogy for it. But.
Eddie Gomez says 70 was RT.
Yeah, okay. And when you go, as my old friend Eddie Gomez, and if he says 70 was RT, then damn it, 70 is RT. Eddie, do you remember the yellow 71 RT around the block from your house with the side scoops?
Oh man, yeah.
71 was non-RT. Okay. Yeah, okay. I knew it was something along those lines. But the 340 was an RT.
Could be, yeah. There was also a Challenger 340 package that has a different VIN. It got weird.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people don't know the 340 in 1971 was a step-up option for the 383 in the Roadrunner and the Super.
It cost more. It actually cost more than 383, which I don't know. Give me the cubes any day, but I get it. They handle better, I'm sure. But give me the
they ran better. You run a stock 340 against a stock 383, and forget about the 100 and something pounds over the front of the car. The 340 will outpace it. It's a stronger engine. Let's see.
He says yes, he remembers it. Hello, Big Bear. And he said Stan has a Shaker Hood 71 convertible.
1 of 17. Big Bear, what's happening, Big Bear? Let's see. What do we got here? Brain farts, yes.
Okay, so this one. Here. All right. I don't know the name. It's a long name. Hello, Stephen, Uncle Tony. I have a 79 Aspen wagon, Super 6, one owner, 0 rust, garaged its entire life. Steve, in your opinion, where should I sell it to get the most? Thanks for the content.
Well, I would say probably try eBay. Can you hear me okay? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm getting a weird thing. But I would say try eBay because then you have control over a reserve. Try eBay. Some of the no reserve auctions can be a little scary with a car like that. I mean, they may not come in because I love an Aspen or a Volare. They're great cars. The F cars are cool. And the Super 6 with a 2-barrel, that's all good. Big exhaust pipe and stuff like that. Is yours an automatic or a 4-speed? Is it an overdrive 4-speed? I don't know. But anyway, I would try. You have control. Try it on eBay. eBay Motors.
Thank you, Max Wedge. Dick Dastardly. Resnick. Okay, there was something I just saw something here. 70 Challenger 383 2-barrel was not an RT car. No, it was not an RT car. The 70 Challenger is one of those is one of the unique cars in Chrysler history. In fact, I think it might be the only one. Okay, that literally every single engine they made in 1970 was available in that car.
Yeah, the 198,
the 198, the 225, the 318, the 340. The 383 2-barrel, the 383 4-barrel, the 444 barrel, the 446 pack, the 426 Hemi. Every single one of them was available in the 70 Challenger.
Right. Yeah, look, the Max Wedge, these are good times. The reproduction Max Wedge stuff is amazing. Rick Allison at A&A is doing cross rams. These are good times.
I didn't mention the 346 pack. I forgot about the 346
pack. That's right.
Yeah, the 70 Challenger, every single thing they made, you can get under the hood of that car.
It's probably the only car that could take that. That's to make that claim. Yeah.
Let's see. Max Wedge, Tony, will disc brake setup from a Fifth Avenue, Newark on a 63B body? Yes, but I bet you Steve knows more about that because I'm like so totally not a disc brake swap.
To be honest, I would refer to my Richard Ehrenberg Mopar Action Tech Special from 2001. I would have to refresh on that. I'm not sure. Don't know. I would say keep them drums. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I love drum brakes. But anyway, no, they probably would work.
Mike Batista, I doubt the 340 would beat the 383 in a roll race.
I don't know.
No, man. I'm telling you, 340, the 340 in those cars was strong. It was strong.
Chris Roberts has a question.
Okay, Chris Roberts.
My 70 Challenger was a Western Sport Special. Do you guys remember this package?
Yeah, it was a dealer package.
Yeah. It was made at the factory, but it was, there was Dodge Darts with that. I'd see them in a junkyard from time to time. It had a cool, like little, at least on the Darts anyways, there was sort of like a red, it was a decal. It wasn't an emblem, it was a decal, but it was, I think, red Western Sports with a white outline. It would look kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a gimmick that Chrysler used for certain regions.
Yeah.
So
like
it was
Mustangs.
Right. So your Western dealers would get this, and it was like the special thing.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't get that. Dealer wouldn't get that car.
Yeah, it might include wheel lip trim and a vinyl top. That
Right.
kind of stuff. It was cool. Yeah, they got their place.
Kathy had one.
I had one.
Yeah, you were leaning forward like you were.
Oh no! I had one of those cars.
Oh.
No. No. Let's see.
Willwood's worth the extra money over right stuff detail. You asking the wrong guy.
Right. Well, I guess Right Stuff. I mean, it's probably a reproduction style of a disc, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. Willwood does make a good brake package. They're not inexpensive, but they're light and they're scienced out, as it were. They're not junk. I don't know. It depends what you want to do with them.
In my opinion, unless you plan on going more than 180 miles an hour, then and stopping in a relatively confined distance, there is absolutely no reason to not use a factory.
A funny thing, I wrote for Hot Rod Magazine from 98 through 2005. And early on, when I was at Hot Rod, Willwood did not want you to use their brakes on the street. They were strictly for racing. And it was a funny thing. We'd sometimes get brakes like on my Wilshire Shaker Nova. Like when you're writing for a magazine, you can sometimes ask for parts and don't have to pay for them. You just do the ink on them. And they were saying, is this thing going to get used on the street? I says, yeah, a little bit. We don't really like that. No joke. And how different it is today. Willwood is one of the big names in pro touring brake kits. But early days, they did not want your stuff on the street. It was interesting because they have that whole safety wire thing they want you to adhere to. It's all about the lawyers. I get it. I didn't safety wire my stuff. Oops, I didn't say that. But it didn't loosen. I used red Loctite. It's all good stuff. But the safety wire is one of their ingredients because again, attorneys, people screwing up and whatnot. But Willwood initially was strictly race only. They didn't want you to use this stuff on the street. Now they do. And of course, it's all scienced out and ready to go. But they make a good product, as does Bear. Or any other stainless steel brake, they do a good one. But Willwood and Bear are kind of the two, premium road racy kind of things. They're all very good generally.
The thing I always tell people, if you go back to like the match race madness days, right? Like 1965, 1966, you had cars that were running 160, 170 miles an hour in a quarter mile, and they were stopping with 11-inch rear drums. And there were no front brakes at all.
Yeah.
The vast majority of these cars. And the ones that, just back brakes, they would use just stock 11-inch drum brakes. And somehow or another, they got these cars stopped time after time after time. The braking was never a question or an issue. So, spend your money where you want to spend your money. But I just leave stock stuff. It's fine.
There's a category of car called the Ultra Stalker. That's my favorite thing. Like 66,
69, right?
In Chicago area. They basically had the UDRA, and like 66 Coronet two-door post. Well, like this thing right here, in fact. This is like my wet dream mobile right here. It's a UDRA ultra stock type vehicle. It's a post with a Hemi, a stick, and you gotta love those slicks in the back. What a nasty, mean thing that is.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
And fiberglass doors, no vent wings, fiberglass doors, fenders, bumpers, hood, and the rest of it's a steel shell. But those are cool, little nasty little things, before super stock or pro stock, right on the edge,
Okay, but see, I was Dallas and I, Dallas is the Dallas. Right?
Yeah, Dallas, yeah, sure.
And we were going to do the heads up super stock stuff that eventually melded into pro stock. But those UDRA cars were also part of that mix.
Yeah.
The heads-up super stock cars, they kind
Evolution.
of like it all melded together, and that's where Pro Stock came from.
Yeah, a lot of them had no front brakes. Like Chick Dinino had that Charger, the Fever, and it was a Hemi Charger with a cross
Right.
ram, no front brakes, spindle mounts, just to shoot. They're cool, like 9-second door slammers. That's cool stuff, to me. Naturally aspirated. I mean, today's turbos and blowers are pretty cool, but I remember Tom Hoover, he kind of summed it up. He said as soon as they started putting blowers on the Hemis, and running fuel, he kind of lost interest because it wasn't a fight anymore. He said you could put a blower on anything and kind of perk it up, you know what I mean? But he said when you're naturally aspirated, running injectors or carburetors, that's where the art of tuning and designing an engine and the intake ports and the valves and fighting a big block Chevy in the camera. He said that was a fight. When a blower was added, the big block Chevy became a contender, obviously because it's as good as anything else to put a blower on it. But anyway, interesting, different ways to go racing, And some people tie your hands behind your back. Why not? Some people, it's kind of funny.
CT Mopar. I work in a restoration shop, properly adjusted four-wheel drum brakes, do a great job stopping a heavy car. Yes,
Yep.
I know. I do it all the time.
Yep. I had a Hemi Charger. It was a '68. It was a manual drum brake car. It was fine. I always say if you're getting to fade on a street, slow down. You're going to get busted. You're going too fast.
We were Kathy and I were on the highway. I guess it was maybe a month or two ago. I don't even remember. And we had my '67 GT. So 273. 4-barrel and all of that. It's got 9-inch drum brakes all the way around.
Wow.
So we're on the interstate. We're clipping along at about 70, 75 miles an hour. And like immediately in front of us, everybody jams on the brakes, right? So I'm like, it was one of those pucker moments, I was like, all right, and I just laid into the pedal and the car stopped. I mean, just stopped.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said specifically, I says, you'd never tell these you can never get disc brake people to understand that there is no way anything could have stopped more efficiently than this thing just stopped now. It was dead straight. It was there. It didn't lock anything up. It was just like on that verge of like almost like a built-in ABS or like a you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was right on the edge. Yeah, right on the edge. I
There's
think
no disc brake car, on that type of tire, right? Because I remember tires have a lot to do with it too. If let's say you're autocrossing and you've got autocross tires, or you're road racing and you've got road race tires, yes, disc brakes will apply the oomph to those tires, or those tires will give you the stick to make it happen. But if you've got street rubber, regular DOT street rubber, it's just the force, the clamping force isn't there. You'll lock them up.
Yeah, I think one thing that happens, a lot of folks give things a bad name because the thing they're discussing is worn out or improper. A drum that's been cut a bunch of times is going to move and flex and not work well. But when the stuff's, in the condition it was designed to be, it works well. But it's rare to find it now. And sometimes folks don't know their stuff is too thin and worn out, But
right. Well, they don't take the time to forget about adjusting it and making sure that they're properly adjusted, but they don't take the time to sand the shoes to make them fit the contour of the drum, because the shoes aren't pre-prepped. I got to do a whole video on that.
Yeah.
I got to do a whole video on that. John Tierno says my Hemi Charger with power drum stops better than my 6-pack Charger with disc.
Yeah.
And even at that's counterproductive, because the Hemi Charger is 150 pounds heavier than the 6-pack Charger.
Right.
So not only is it a heavier car, you know what I mean? But yeah. Let's see. Joe Jackson. People all too often regurgitate everything they read and don't speak from experience. Exactly.
It's easy to do, and no fault.
Seriously, if you want to see people not speaking from experience, just read the comments on a typical YouTube video, because everybody is an expert. You know what I mean? They sit on the toilet and they read stuff about cars, and suddenly they're an expert. Oh no, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's a human impulse, just try not to do it or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Have you gotten any trolls yet?
I haven't. I don't get into I stay away from having a firm opinion, and everybody has their own opinion. So I don't go there, because why, But yeah, I had a few things happen. I was selling a car on eBay one time, and I took pictures showing the rust, And because I said, here's the worst of the car. And somebody took the bait and said, no, that's the best of the car. We had this dumb thing. I realized I'm just pissing into the wind. I stopped. I just disengaged. But that was the only time I had something goofy happen. But the car really was not very nice. But this guy was, I don't know, who knows what it was. But no, I just don't. Yeah. Make love, not war, or something. I don't know.
Okay. Let's see. Have you been paying attention?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. What do we got? Keep this show moving. Keep it alive. Keep the action going.
They're talking to one another. So,
I know. I was just.
Yeah, they're talking to one another. So that's okay. Jeff King says Steve Maggs is the man.
Well, there you go. That's been confirmed.
Nice. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, let's see. Disc brakes might weigh less. They certainly cost less to make. Let's see.
Paul Shea says, couldn't agree more with you on the four-wheel drive made 72 two-door hardtop stop on a dime.
Yeah.
Harley Hubbard, favorite year GTO. I have a 70.
Yeah, it's good. I think a 65 tri-power, the 4-speed myself. I like the 65.
I like the 64s just because they're just.
But the
hood.
hood.
Same thing with the 442s. I like the 64s.
Okay. With the 330 though, I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I like the spirit of the car.
It's the purest incarnation, I guess, of it, minus the
purest, like the Roadrunner in the 68. So that's the purest Roadrunner. You couldn't. The people, I'm always like, no, you can't have bucket seats on a Roadrunner. It can't be a Roadrunner if it has bucket seats. Right. Because the original incarnation of the Roadrunner, you couldn't get bucket seats. It was a bench-only car.
Yeah.
Okay, Kathy has a question.
Question, Stephen 20. Going back to swap meets, I was at Stafford today. What's your best swap meet buy?
Well, he was in Stafford today. I don't know. It's tough to say. Well, I will. Yeah, the best one ever really was about probably 5 years ago. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, there's a torque flight over there for sale. The guy wants $100 for it." I'll go look. It turned out it was a cable operated big block 63 Imperial torque flight with the ball and trunnion. But the guy said, "I'll take $50 now." I said, "Fine." So big block cable torque flights are nice to have. The only thing that's better than that is a cable operated spline torque flight, the 65. But it turns out I've had that tranny kicking around and it's going to go into the police car because I'm going to the 318 and poly and the push button come out. And as you know, you can't use the small block 727 with the big block. So I have the torque flight, but $50 at Stafford Springs. I was blown away about 5 years ago. I guess that's my best buy. I guess still got to rebuild it with the manual bell body and all that stuff, but coming up soon,
I've had a lot of outstanding buys. The last one, I bought a set of D4 Hemi heads.
Wow.
For $200. Well, no, $100 for
them. Was it 200?
I don't know. I wanted $200. I bought a set of D4s.
Were they blown up and sliced and diced? Were they still kind of good, or
a couple of small cracks, but nothing. The nitro cracks.
Yeah.
No big deal. So they're aces to me. They're maybe not, to somebody else. Okay. My overall best swap meet score was a 71 Hemi Super B for $600.
Huh? rolling shell, or was it?
Yeah, complete roller, everything but the motor.
And nobody knew.
And they had just pulled the motor out to put it in a dragster.
When was this?
1989.
Wow. Yeah.
Might have been 1889, 1990. It might have been.
Wow.
Yeah, it was earlier because we were on Grafton.
Okay.
Because we had no place to put the car.
1988.
Yeah.
What'd you do with the body? Did you sell it off?
I kept it at a friend's place in New Jersey. I had no place to put it, and I actually at the time I had a funny car in the driveway. I had no place to put the car. I kept it at a friend's place in Jersey, and then I had to move it. I had to sell it, so I ended up selling it to a guy in Missouri, and I got like $2,200 for it, $2,500, whatever it was. And I remember this is years ago.
Yeah, sure.
And that car, you'll find it's if you search 71 Hemi Super B, it's the only one of its kind.
One of 17.
It's one of 17, but it's the only one. It's one of 17 column shift, but it's B5 white gut column shift, and it's been restored, and it is exquisite. It's just the most beautiful car.
Did Wellborn get it? Probably, right? Did Wellborn get it?
I have no idea where where it is now, but I've seen pictures of it restored online. It's a Super B site.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Those are neat cars. I love them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of really good super swap meet stuff over the years. I lived swap meets for years. You know. Let's see.
It's funny. A little quick story. Back in 1988, I was at the Stafford Spring swap meet, and I saw a '64 Dodge hammered, altered wheelbase, had a clutch flight and a max wedge, and
Nice.
this was on it. This right here. This is one of the hood pins, right? Years later, that car said Yankee Coachman on the side, right? Turns out it was Strickler's '64. Mike Guffey ended up with it. And this is one of the 4 hood pins. Now, this hood pin, I says, Mike, that's too big. He says, nope. On the first 4 '64 race Hemis, they use NASCAR aluminum pins. And this is one of the pins that I walked by in 1988 on the Yankee Coachman, which was Strickler '64, Strickler's and Jenkins car. And it's back to life. But Guppy said that it was too raunchy. So he sent this to me as a gift. But he just, about a month ago, I got this thing. But this is, if you look at '64 NASCAR Hemi cars, they get these massive, it's like as big as my thumb, this hood pin is. It's a
I see the size. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, but this is NASCAR, '64 NASCAR shit right here, which is like, so thank you, Mike Guffey. But I'll treasure this thing forever. But it looks like junk. But I walked by this thing in 1988 when it was on the Royal Coachman, didn't know what it was, but they wanted $1,800 for the Royal Coachman. And I just didn't have, the wherewithal. I had a Hemi Charger at the time, and I was broke from that. It's funny, your hindsight is 20/20, right? Anyway.
Okay. Let's see. Kathy took off. She's gone now. Chuck,
Oh yeah.
I remember Steve at Carlisle will be working for Dodge again. Will you be working for Dodge again at the Chrysler at Carlisle?
I did, yeah. For about 4 years, they had the Dodge Performance Showcase, and me and a fellow named John Hammer used to take turns on the mic. Hey, folks, gather around, sign up for the thing. And I was put out of work by a robot. What does that mean? When Dodge came up with the Demon drag cars, those robot demons, you sit in them and like that, when those showed up, they didn't need a guy with a microphone anymore. But for 4 years, for Chrysler Carlisle, I'd be there standing in the sun. I might have seen you there, Tony. I don't know, but it was just part of the show there. But yeah,
I've only been to Carlisle twice.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I went once and spent. I was hanging with David Ray. Remember David Ray from Graveyard Cars?
Oh yeah, okay, yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I went there 1 year with him. This was like in, I don't know, about 4 years ago. And actually, yeah. Well, three times, right? I was there once with David Ray. Then we went back once about 2 years ago with Kathy, and I actually got to see a lot of the place. And then I went this last year, and I was there for like 15 minutes. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. I swear to God. John Wilbur was with me. I was like, okay, we gotta go. And we went to the train museum.
Okay, that's cool. Trains are cool. Yeah.
I had to drop off a Hemi over at that was going to Barton's place. And then we went to the train museum and I shot a thing on locomotives.
Yeah.
So that was my last Carlisle experience. I probably won't be going back.
Yeah.
Here, Lorenzo has a question. Any good notable qualities that you immediately think of with the 1980 Roadrunner? Was it a 383 Hemi?
What was that?
Was it a 383 Hemi?
Huh. Well, the word Roadrunner and 383 Hemi do go together. If we're talking Fred Cutler's 65 BFX car, if that rings a bell with anybody out there. If it does, you get an A+. But anyway, he had a thing called the Roadrunner, 65 A990 Dodge, and it said Roadrunner on the side. Before Plymouth had a Roadrunner, guy named Fred Cutler. It was a D-stroked 426. We ran it in BFX. But anyway.
Dodge used Roadrunner in
Yeah.
the advertisements for the 1967 RT.
Yes, sir. That's a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that caused some friction between the
Right.
the PR people there.
Yeah.
Don and Wayne English, great people. We met them. We were hanging out over at their place for about 15 minutes, or 20 minutes.
You must know Lee Quinones. Do you know Lee Quinones?
Lee, he was the star.
Yeah, good dude. Yeah.
Lee, and listen to me now, I am not exaggerating at all. Okay. Lee started me in at least 1,000 street races.
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
mean, at least 1,000 street races.
Yeah.
And I knew Lee, right? Because we used to race many times a week, all night long. Okay, all night long. And in New York, we had the 3 count. You know, 1, 2, and then you drop your hands.
Yeah.
Well, I had Lee's timing down perfect, and I would for a while I would only race if Lee was the starter. I would sit around and watch if other people were starting. But if Lee was the starter, let's go, man. Because I had Lee's cadence down perfectly, and I was able to leave between 2 and 3.
Right.
And always got a fender out on somebody. And I talked to Lee many times after that. I was like, thank you, man. You made me a hero out there.
Yeah, he's a graffiti artist. I mean, one of the best way back in the day, and still, you know. But anyway, if he's watching, hi Lee, how are you? Anyway,
I gave Lee his first Hemi hats.
that's cool.
It was like I was so grateful to him. He came up my house in New York, and he was telling me, oh, I wanted. He had the 65 that he's got.
The lightweight.
And he was like, oh, I really want a Hemi for that. Because he was looking around, all kinds of Hemi stuff laying around. I had the fuel altered at the time. And I says, well, then you need these things more than I do. And I handed him a set of Hemi heads.
Yeah, that's cool. Iron or aluminum, or probably aluminum, right?
They were iron 426 heads.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't actually hand it to him like 6 packs.
Yeah, right.
You need these more than I do.
That's cool. But no, I won't be working at Dodge I won't be. Yeah, as long as the Demon drag strip simulator, as long as it was around, I'm out of work, which is fine. I'm good with it because it was my birthday, July 14th. I'm always standing there frying in the sun. It was a good time. I loved that. I was honored to work for Dodge. In fact, they paid for my tattoo. The only tattoo I have on my body is this thing right here. And Mark Momstead paid for that. Thank you, Mark. But anyway, whatever. But yeah, that was good times. 5 years of time well spent. Yeah, Dodge is a class act. I love those guys. They're good.
What's so funny?
Tony, why didn't you want to stay at Carlisle?
Because people recognize me.
That's the reason.
That's why I got out of the magazine business. I didn't want to be recognized.
You get
bombarded on YouTube. I mean, you can't put gas in my car without getting recognized.
Yeah, you get bombarded a little bit, Tony. You know, people sort of like, you know, hey, what's up? You know.
I let me tell you, I love the people. I really do. I swear to God, I have great affection for our viewers.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm an introvert.
Yeah. It's a little off-putting. It's a little off-putting when strangers come on. Hey, what's up? You're like, you don't, you know, you're not ready for it sometimes, but you got to get used to it, I suppose. You know.
You're the same way. Like you're an introvert too. We're both introvert nerds. We're happier. I'm happier reading about things than I am doing anything else. You know what I mean? I'm happier in my own head. Just
the limelight.
You know, so but people misinterpret because like we do public things. You know, you do TV, I do YouTube, and it's like. And now you do, and people think that it's like, oh yeah, they're out there. They want to be out there, and it's like, no, I really don't want to be out there at all. This is just my job. This is just what I do for a living.
Yeah.
All right, where were we?
I found something cool today at the swap. A
postcard. Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's a postcard that was from I don't know when, but here it is right there. As this camera blows because I get the focal point is. I guess it's probably
which car? What car is that?
This is the Yankee Peddler. So you can't see it. Okay. Is this a tiny little image on your screen?
It's like I can't make out.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's weird because mine looks all right. So the trouble is, I think I'm doing okay, but it sucks out in the world. Tell me that. You know what I mean? Because my lens.
It may just be my camera here or my screen here. It's clear on her phone. I could tell. I'm not familiar with the car's paint scheme.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell which car it was.
It's the Yankee Peddler. And can people just somebody type in and say if that's clear to see or don't waste your time, Steve? You know what I mean? Because that right. It's a little. I see it. It's a little out of focus. The camera sucks. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. T-type.
Mr. Will, Tony, back in your street racing days, what new car surprised you the most in terms of speed you didn't know it had? The
T-type. Right.
The
T-type. You wrote about it. Yeah.
I wrote about it. Right. Yeah. That totally blew my mind. I wasn't expecting that. Because I mean, you got to realize the time that it was 1986.
Yeah.
You know, And
expectations were so low.
yeah, expectation. That car ran in the 13s. I had it in the cool weather. We were street racing it in the cool weather because what happened was I would get cars from the press pool, and then we would take them to all these various spots in the New York, New Jersey area and street racing. And that was how we did the tests for Cars Illustrated magazine. And we had that one in the cool weather, and I just totally was not expecting that car to run the way it did. And its power characteristic was absolutely perfect for low traction street racing because it didn't spool instantly.
Yeah.
You'd hammer the car, you power brake a little bit to get the boost to come in a little bit, and you leave like that. And it was the perfect launch every time at a place like Fountain Avenue or South Avenue. South Avenue was where it really shined. South Avenue always had a little more traction than Fountain Avenue. And you power brake it to just get it to a little bit of boost, take off the brake, stop on it, and the car go, and it was perfect. It was perfect. Yeah, that car blew my mind.
That's cool.
That is not the fastest thing in the world, but the fastest thing in the world doesn't always win street races. And that's what people don't understand, It's finesse in a street race, not out and out speed.
Tiki Froley wants to know why in the heck are 80s Monte Carlo SSs so expensive?
Because they're freaking beautiful.
And they're Chevys, they're Chevys, Yeah.
Yeah, especially I had an 86 for a couple of years. Black. They are gorgeous cars. There's a lot of Chevys I admire, but those middle 80s Monte SSs look just perfect from every angle.
Making an Aero Coupe, a little awkward, but so cool.
Pontiac Aero Coupe, the 2+2. It's just freaky and weird and ugly, man, with that droop and the thing, and it's but it's so beautiful at the same time.
The funny thing is, I worked at Ragsdale Chevrolet in 1986 when we had a Monte Carlo Aero Coupe and a Pontiac 2+2. The 2+2 had 6,000 miles, was an executive car, but they were next to each other. I went around those cars, and there's nothing shared, as you can imagine. It's like a Daytona and a Superbird. They're similar, but not the same. The only thing is, the Pontiac was crude. Pop rivets, and that decklet is this weird one-piece injection molded blob. The Monte Carlo is a far nicer car. They're similar, but not the same. But the 2+2 was it was a raunchy car. The pisser is too. They had a very basic 305, whereas the Monte had the L69, a little hotter engine, So it was 165 versus 190 or something like that. But the Monte Carlo SS actually got an engine, whereas the 2+2 just got a regular Grand Prix 305, I think it was, a Chevy 305.
Well, no, the SS had that same motor. It was the same 4-barrel 305.
It was perked up a little bit, and it had 373 gears in the back,
Right.
Yeah, so they were a little perked up, dual exhaust, and, single with dual pipes, But the 2+2 was not the same engine. So Pontiac didn't really go that far with it. They just did a homologation job with the body. And that nose that was it was kind of like the 79 Trans Am with that weird rubber nose. On a hot day, they get kind of wavy and crappy. So the 2+2, I liked them, the silver, the great looking car, but the Monte Carlo SS was a far better execution, even the Aero Coupe. And they were done by Cars and Concepts too, by the way. I grabbed all the paperwork out of one of them. I still have it. It was converted, same place that did Mustangs. But yeah.
I had that SS during the peak of the time that I was working on a bunch of fuel cars. I had like 3 of them in the New York, New Jersey area. I had 3 of them in the Chicago area, and I was forever bouncing from car to car, zip, 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 zip. And so I used that Monte SS was like my drag strip jet, and all I did with that freaking thing for 2 years was zigzag across the country.
Was it burgundy?
No, it was black.
Black, okay.
Black with a gray gut.
Yeah.
And that thing never missed a beat. It always got more than 20 miles to the gallon. You could run it along 80 miles an hour, for literally just days at a time. And that car was perfect. It was perfect.
The one thing I always kind of wonder is that, the Grand National got the 8.5-inch rear axle. Monty never got that, just a goofy little 7.6. They never put a big axle in it. I just thought that was telling that the Buick,
Which year?
Oh, well, the Monte Carlo SS got the same 7.62 axle. The Grand National got the 8.5. I was kind of wondering why, well, of course, 330 foot-pounds of torque versus 290 or whatever it was, but interesting. I'm an axle geek,
D. Scaglione. Do you guys like the 73 Pontiac Grand Am?
Absolutely.
How could you not?
Yeah, wicked
That
car.
was, I remember when those cars were new and they were so far out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like they were weird. And it was the Can-Am. Remember the Can-Am?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that 73? Was that 74?
I think 77 on the Can-Ams. They were a little later on, but the
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
yeah. And the 70, it was actually, there was in my town, there was a 4-door, 4-speed Grand Am. You could get get a Grand Am in 4 doors. It was the coolest damn thing. And on the trunk, it's just 7.4 liters, the 455, or 6.5 liter, the 400. So it was John DeLorean again playing BMW, with Pontiacs. But they were great cars. And with the honeycomb wheels, wicked. And in fact, as you probably know, Automobile Quarterly used to have these. Remember Automobile Quarterly, that kind of hardcover book? And they did a new car buyer's guide for 73, and they actually showed a Super Duty 455 Grand Am. There was the logos on the front and stuff like that. And they actually made a few.
Cars Magazine did it. Cars Magazine did a long-term road test on one of those.
That's right. That's right. And they were proving grounds mobiles, nothing more. But they built a handful, but they were never sold.
Yeah.
What a wicked thing that is. But it says 45 SD under the marker light on the front. Yeah, they're great cars. That rubber nose with the thing. Yeah.
And I remember when the Monza came out, it was kind of like a downsized Grand Am.
Yeah, when the Spider came along, I mean, you get a 350 in a Spider with 109 horsepower, some horrible defanged piece of crap. But a 350 in a Monza, the Spider. Remember that? Along came a Spider. I mean, it was a bad time, but a good time.
Wait a minute. Dylan says Lagunas are ugly.
Well,
What?
so be it. That's okay. I don't know. Teach their own.
No, man, those were beautiful cars.
And the S3 with that rubbery nose. Well, the Laguna, as you know, the Malibu, the Chevelle, and the Laguna had 2 different noses. The Laguna Laguna was a nose package. Another thing, you get the Laguna nose on a wagon if you wanted it, but it was sort of a weird rubber nose. They're heavy too.
I never saw it on a wagon.
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah, it was just the nose thing, as a Laguna.
I was watching a YouTube video, I guess, a couple of months ago, and I don't remember what channel or anything, what the topic was, but they were in some guy's yard, and there were 3 of those Laguna noses, standing up against a tree.
Yeah. And it was the S3, which appeared in with the funny little slopey nose in 74.5. Yeah, 74 and 5, something like that. It was a homologation car, kind of, the nose. But yeah.
Yeah, the rotating buckets. I forgot about that. The rotating buckets.
Yeah.
Doug Narden, Tony Magneto, Can-Am versus Super Duty 455 Firebird. Thoughts?
Yeah, they're both good. I think make mine a Can-Am. I mean, well, the Super Duty 455 is kind of that's default winner, but the Can-Am was a cool car versus a Trans Am. I think I'd go Can-Am with the same engine.
I think the Firebird would have a slight weight advantage. Firebirds were freaking tanky cars.
Performance-wise, yeah.
Right. So they would have a weight advantage, but that Can-Am's got a bunch more weight over the rear end. It's got a lot more overhang and stuff, and a higher center of gravity. So I would give the Can-Am actually the edge in a drag race.
Could be, yeah.
Laguna had round tail lights. Yeah. Oh no, I love those cars. What happened here? I lost my.
What happened?
Oh, comments. Okay.
You okay?
There we go. Yes.
Right.
And yeah, it was a urethane, color matched urethane nose. It was kind of cool, I think
there was. I mean, you got to put this stuff in its era, man. That was like all futuristic. We look at it now. It's like, okay, it's almost 50 years past. But I remember those cars when they were new, and they were like they were futuristic. They were like this was slick stuff. I mean, yeah, maybe perhaps like if you're of a younger generation, you look at a car like a Laguna and you say, it's ugly, right? You probably, you may be right, but from my generation looking at it, it's like it still looks futuristic to me.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, it's crazy, right?
Part of it too was, the Fed mandate for impact absorbing, and you had to have non-visible damage to the bumper after, I think it was 2.5 miles per hour at the back, 5 in the front. So, it was impact absorbing. So it was meant to do a function. And, the bumper laws were the dumbest thing on the planet because the impact never happens in the same spot always, and it was just dumb. But anyway, like no 2 cars ever actually hit at the same spot ever. But in a perfect world, but these cars were all designed with the bumper like 16 inches from it was stupid. But it's what happens when lawmakers start designing cars. But they did it because Detroit wasn't listening, so they're forced. It was just a whole silly goofy thing. But ever read Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed?
Yeah,
it's a lot of cheap shots. He does make some good points. I will say that Ford and all the car makers ignoring the idea that you will go through the windshield. You don't just hang on, and padding a dashboard. So being forced into seatbelts, I get it, and the smog stuff, they weren't going to do it without some government pushing, but with that said, they should have backed off. It was a container. The cafe thing is insane. I hate cafe, but anyway.
The thing about Nader back then is like he was riding the wave of, consumer protectionism and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And he did go over the top. And
Self-serving.
like the Corvair, he destroyed the Corvair. Was a fantastic car. They're beautiful cars. If you've never driven a Corvair, it's as close to a go-kart as you're going to get in those. You drive a Corvair, a basic everyday Corvair, and you drive a Corvette from the same era. The Corvair is tighter. The Corvair feels better. It's more responsive. They were awesome cars. And it was because of that bad ink from that friggin',
Yeah. And I drove a Pinto for 5 years now, 4 years now, and I'm still here. Although I'd hear cars skidding, I'd reach for gauze. I'd reach for the gauze when I heard cars behind me skidding in traffic.
Okay. Let's see. Ryan Beck wants a shout out. There it is, man. You got the shout out, Ryan Beck.
Okay, I just see Tony and Magneto, but sorry. Thank you, Ryan.
Oh wait, I had Dave cares for you. Sent 1999. My error last time. Dave cares for you. He cares for me. He cares. Dave cares. See, that's his whole thing. I don't know what the error was, but thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Let's go, Brandon.
Are there any parts that Steve is searching for at the moment? Any parts?
Well, yeah, I am looking for a 440 core engine. It's got to be somewhere in the near area, but I got a couple lines on them today.
What kind of core do you need? I got a few of them in my.
Yeah, it's cool. Something within 50 miles of my house. Well, I'm going to get a 440 source stroker and some of their heads, and I just need a 440 block that'll hold water and combustion. Yes, it's that's it, kind of. And yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm good. I did find something kind of cool. I was in a junkyard locally, and I found this thing. Can you see this? Okay.
I can.
Do you recognize? It looks like a Max Wedge air cleaner, but this here, that circle, this would be usually found on a 361 or a 383 in 1960, and it's the same size as a Max Wedge. But the weird thing is, on the inside, that thing.
I've never seen that.
Same here. I thought. Well, I see these. I thought that was with a sticker. It says Fury 365 or whatever. The sticker goes here, right? Ordinarily.
Right.
But who knew there's also a Helmholtz resonance object inside of here? That's what that is. That's when you see a thing like that, it's usually to calm intake hiss. But what the hell is this thing? But there it is. So kind of weird, right? Yeah, it's fixed.
I have never seen that. I know that the indentation in the front is for the air conditioning.
Well, it could. Yeah, it's possible. Yep. But
yeah, that's what those air cleaners have. There is an indentation, but I've never seen that.
Yeah, that circle. But in a 59 or a 60 Wedge, a 60 for sure, you'll see this right here. It has a sticker on it. But I would not have known that this stuff on the inside. But that's weird. Max Wedge air cleaners do not have anything like that. But anyway, the stuff you find, right?
The positioning of that is unique too.
This thing right here, aside from being very close to a UFO, I did a UFO video, by the way. It's funny in the shit, but anyway, this is the wheel cover used on fleet Mopars, including B bodies and C bodies up till 65. And this is different. These actually attach to the wheel with metal riveted hooks.
Yeah, yeah. That's okay. I know the wheel you're talking about.
Here, you'll see right here, this has the more traditional. My 62 has those. They're an optional wheel, and so those wheel covers are hard to find. I found there was a lot of
those. Don't those wheels have cooling holes?
They don't. No, that would be 77 or 75.
No, I know those wheels. But I'm picturing a wheel that would take those covers. It's a
15 by 6
round cooling holes.
Yeah, this one does. They're 15 by 6. And instead of having nubs to take a hubcap that's on, no nubs, they have instead riveted on tabs. And the idea is that I guess you can jump a curb or an Empire State Building and they won't come off the car. That's the plan. But these are also seen on taxi cabs. But specifically this circular thing, there's about 50 different versions of this. Some say Dodge, DeSoto, all this shit. But this is the one for police cars right here. And I had one. And in the auction in Texas, there was a set of 8 of them, and I bought them because my car needs them, and they're not on it. So anyway, that I was looking for. Anyway, the devil's in the details, right?
But you do have the wheels.
I do. Yeah, the car has the wheels on it. Yeah, but the hubcaps, they're not on. They might be in the trunk because the trunk hasn't been opened. I don't know what's in there. It might be a rattlesnake or 50.
Just out of curiosity, just look into it when you get a chance, because I'm almost positive that I've seen them. Not that they doesn't necessarily belong on your car. They may have been like they may have been D body. They may have been Imperial wheels. I'm not even sure.
Was
the Imperial wheels different as a 5.5 bolt pattern instead of the
were they next? Are we talking about Imperial wheels that look like a rally wheel, like in Chrysler Imperial? Yeah, that's Imperial stuff. Yeah, don't know why they did it. It looks like a rally wheel. Indeed, there's like 7 or 8 holes. Yep. But that's not what this is. Yeah, those have a 5-on-5 bolt pattern, which is Imperial, not junk. It's not usable if you're a B body or an E body guy. But yeah, it's not junk. I shouldn't say that. But
Watsonda wants to know. I saw this come up a couple of times. Oops, no, we did that. Where is it? Uh-oh, I lost this.
Mopar 10-inch drum brakes fit in the 13-inch wheels. Is that the one?
Yes, there is. But okay, you're talking about A body because A body is the only one that had them. No.
Yeah.
You've got to go to the 14 by 5.5. But actually, you go by to the 14 by 4.5.
Yeah.
And then there's the 14 by 5.5, which was the V8 wheel. But either of them will work with the 10-inch drum brakes. The 13s won't.
Yeah, there's also a couple of 13s that there's a few different spider shapes. The really early ones are bizarre looking things, and they're really, really tight. And like 66 or 67 up, they're a little more normal looking, But yeah, I used to always try and find there's a 14 by 5.5, and there's a 14 by 4.5, like 340 Duster wheels. Those look good on the back of an A body, and then slant 6 14-inch wheels that have like no offset are good on the front. When I was doing like my Valiants and stuff, or I'd have some rears made that were 7 wide, but that was custom shit and stuff, But
Max Switch, this dastardly says that the B-52s drove a Plymouth Satellite faster than the speed of light.
All right.
Kind of clear.
Huh.
Yeah.
You have to see the video, I guess, right? Is that the video?
It's a song. It's a song called Planet Claire by the B-52s.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, he's talking about this
in the video
from Planet Claire, and she drove a Plymouth Satellite faster.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Huh. And they have a Chrysler that's as big as a whale. It's about to set sail.
Yeah, the B-52s were big on Chrysler products.
I got me a Chrysler. It's as big as a whale. It's about to set sail. Right? Yeah.
I think there was another song where they
right.
Let's see. Swivel bucket seats in a 70. I don't know why I clicked on that, but yeah,
I think so.
Swivel bucket seats 70 Cutlass. Yeah. They started those in 73. The swivel buckets.
Yeah. El Caminos quite often see them, and everything I think could have them.
There was an option, of course, on all of those cars.
They downsized in 78. I think that came to an end. Yeah. Clearly did.
Leonardo Miguel has a question.
Leonardo Miguel has a question.
Yep. Steve, saw your video on torsion bars. Do they lose tension through the years?
Yeah, they can. The biggest enemy is when the anchor ruts and goes pow, and the car sits on its rubber all of a sudden. That's always. It sounds like a shotgun. My buddies, but there's rust repair kits for that stuff. But they do sag. They can sag, but it's mostly that anchor blowing up that I found is a problem.
Well, the problem, most of them will tear the torsion bar out of the crossover, because the crossover is stamped sheet steel, and it has the mount for the torsion bar welded into it, and it's not a good design because the penetration is never correct.
Yeah, it's just a perimeter weld, right? So
it's a perimeter weld, and the penetration into it's just not good. And if it's a bad one over time, they'll tear out. But the way you check a torsion bar is put it straight in. Torsion bars don't actually lose their tension, so to speak. You can tell a bad torsion bar because it will have a wave in it. So as they get older and I tell you, I've got 60-year-old torsion bars that are just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
But if you're questioning if a torsion bar is good or not, they'll take on an arc as they get older, and then they'll start to sag because the arc is decreasing the amount of. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I used to look.
Able to twist. Is able to twist an arced bar easier than it is to twist a straight bar. So as they arc, they'll start to sag.
Yeah, I built a Hemi Dart a few years back. It was a 273 4-barrel E-Code sedan. I put a stage 5 Hemi conversion, and it came with .88 torsion bars with the 273. I put a set of .86s out of a slant 6 car. I had to crank the snot out of them to get the Hemi. It was a 440 and aluminum heads. It was like way lighter than a real Hemi, but it's still. I did find that torsion bars kind of lost their oomph. I had to crank them a few times. I didn't go too far, but the .86s were the ones I tried to find, the slant 6 bars. There might be something smaller. I couldn't find it though. I know .88 and stuff.
No, that's still a lot of weight. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit lighter than a 426 Hemi, but that's still.
Yeah, it was. I think 607 pounds is what it was. Said and done. The block was the killer, but yeah.
DOA, what is the most oddly optioned car Steve has come across?
Well, I mean, I will say I had a 75 Plymouth Valiant 4-door. It was an original paint car, slant 6, nothing.
Yeah.
One side had the chrome wheel lip trim, the other one didn't, and it wasn't drilled for it. So it was a quality control problem, but I couldn't believe it. They weren't added. One side had it and one side did not. I'm like, what the hell? Very weird. It was also like, it was a tan car, and I could see I bought it in LA for like $800. And one of the things I miss about California, I moved out there in 1991, and there's a thing called the Recycler. It's like a weekend, it's a newspaper. You just get the Recycler, and if you had $1,000 in your pocket, you could take your pick of a dozen weird cars for under $1,000. Old Mopars, Volkswagen buses, stuff like that. So I bought this thing, and it was an original paint car. Something died in the back seat. Don't know. I drove in the front. Didn't worry about it. It was like the seat was all hard with blood or something weird. I just left it. Didn't worry about it. But it was an original paint car, but the firewall was green, and the rest, it was like you could see the beige sprayed over green. It was like they started painting it green and said, "Oh no, that one's gonna be." It was the goofiest. It was a horrible quality control car. It ran great, but yeah, one side had wheel lip trim, and it wasn't added. It was factory shit, and the other side had none and no holes drilled. So that was weird. And another thing, I will say this: yes, my buddy Fred Lee in Belchertown, Mass. If anybody's from Mass, they probably know him. But back in the '80s, he had a '68 Hemi Roadrunner 4-speed car. I was going to buy from him. It was a one headrest car, bench seat, driver's side bench headrest, nothing on the passenger side, and on the build sheet it said headrest 1 in crayon, real. And you could actually both sides. The headrest were $6. Technically, you could buy a car with a headrest for her and none for the driver. Technically, this car had one headrest, driver's side only. Weird, bench seat car.
They became federally mandated the following year.
69, yeah, mid-January 69. Right. Yeah. Well, yes, right. Yeah.
Let's see. So, guys, we're over. Well, we're way over 2 hours now. If you have any questions for Steve, like start getting them going, because we're gonna be wrapping it up really soon. But for anybody who hasn't already joined Steve's channel, subscribe to Steve's channel, Steve Mag's YouTube channel, right? Go over there, ring the bell, share all of his videos, buy all of his propaganda, spread his rhetoric. Just do everything that you have to do to get this guy out there. This is the future of YouTube right there.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and and thanks, Tony, for the guidance. And every day I launch a new video between 6-7 minutes. We have a lot of junkyard stuff coming, and this week we're going to shoot a lot of stuff, just oddities, anomalies, weird stuff. And we actually bought a lav mic. Finally, there was some complaints about, hey, you can't hear you, so we got a lav mic. It's all fixed, But anyway, yeah.
D. Scaglione has been asking a few times, does he like Entenmann's?
Do you like Entenmann's?
Entenmann's cake?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. The chocolate fudge cake rocks. I love those things. Yes.
Oh, the chocolate fudge, that's a good one.
I'm on a diet, man. I've laid off of all grains, and so it's like I'm only eating meat right now.
Yeah.
I'm jonesing for like, please.
Coffee cake?
Yeah, I don't. I think health is overrated.
Are you doing the Atkins diet kind of thing, with just protein?
Well, it's really the carnivore diet, where it's like it has to be dead.
Yeah.
Don't eat it unless it's dead.
Huh. All right.
Well, dust over garage. Okay. I did this once before, about 10 years ago, and I lost 30 pounds in 30 days.
Like no
Wow.
carbs.
Right.
Wow.
And zero carbs, just meat.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah,
Like
I
no
was
bread. No bread. Just
200. I hit
bacon,
200.
but no bread. Yeah.
What's that?
Like bacon, but no bread.
Right. You can eat pounds of bacon. You can eat literally an unlimited amount. And if you're not eating any carbs, you have to eat an unlimited amount because your body just burns through this stuff as fast as it can.
Right.
But I lost. Yeah, I'll get to that. I got queued up here already. But yeah, I did. I hit 200 pounds, and I went on this diet for a month, and I was down to 170 in 30 days.
Wow.
Well, now I'm trying it again. It's 10 years later. My metabolism probably isn't as slick as it used to be, and I've only lost like 3 or 4 pounds. But I'm trying to I'm trying to be slightly less pregnant.
Yeah, I know. I get this. Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Dust over garage. Building a 74 Duster drag car. I keep going back and forth between Magnum small block 440 or 400. What are your opinions?
Wow.
My opinion is going to Magnum.
Yeah, put a stroker in it, do a 410 or something like that. Get the inches, but yeah, that 440 block, man, that deep skirt is heavy. You know, the heads are good. That block is a monster. I love it. I'm looking for one, but they're a monster.
Yeah, seriously. The thing is, the Magnum stuff is so easy and cheap to come across, right? That you heard it. You don't have to go hunting for anything. You just go run over to pull apart and grab another one for $150. So, which is what the magic was of Mopar stuff back in the day. That's when Steve and I became Mopar people. It was back in the day when you could buy a car for $50 and a motor for $75 and put it together, and you'd have a big block B body and go out and go street race with it and stuff. And we built these cars because they were available and they were cheap, and nobody wanted the freaking things. And it was just like you could build amazing cars for no money. It's not like that anymore. So 440s, 400s. Yeah, a 400 with a 440 crank is the overall best factory combination that you're going to come across. No question about it. But given the realities of today, the cost structure of today, the parts availability of today, build a Magnum and don't look back.
I would say get a stroker crank in there. Get as many cubes as you can. I will say 440 source. I mean, it's finally, because when I did my Hemi Dart way back, I had a Carrillo, a Crowler rods and a Carrillo crank. I mean, pricey stuff. We didn't have the Chinese stuff. Well, now we do. 440 source does a nice 512 stroker, and I think they may be doing small block stuff now. I don't know, but get yourself a 410 or a 440 kit for that 360 motor. Definitely get some cubes in there. That's always good. It's a nice light engine. You have the same cubes as a 440 and a good set of heads. The Magnums are pretty decent. I'd go for the small block. It won't look as cool, but it'll run as good. Better.
Donnie, when the English want to know, they see that you found many road toads during the junkyard crawls.
Huh, road toad. Road runner, or what's a road toad?
Road toad, it's early A bodies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, yes. I got to say, during the last week's Texas Mopar horse, there was a 61 two-door Valiant, no rust, 3 on the floor, original green paint, went for like $1,200. I thought it was going to go for 4 or 5. But yeah, it was a nice rust, a 2-door with good floors. It was beautiful. I wanted it, but yes, they turn up. Yeah, they're usually rotten and gone. You know what I mean? But yes, we do find them. So is that what you guys call them? Road toads? The early, the 61? Yeah, they're weird. Yeah.
Frank Kunkel about the mic. Frank, we got a really good mic, but we had problems with connecting here. I couldn't hear Steve, so we had to go back to this setup. We'll have that straightened out the next time we get together.
Joe K. Steve, love the 3rd gen videos. Have you come across many 4th gens yet?
In the junkyard? No, I mean Camaros, the F bodies. You mean, right? Oh, probably. Yeah, I just did a piece on a Formula 350 Firebird with a 9-bolt Borg-Warner rear axle. Kind of a cool piece, no C clips, et cetera, et cetera. So we did a video on that one. But no, I have not seen that many 4th gen Camaros in the boneyard. Not yet. They're there, mostly V6s. But I don't stop to look at that. It have to be a V8 to catch my eye. I don't know, but yeah.
Jay Rodriguez, I just found a 62 hardtop 880. What do you know about it? There's a family of Mopars that I'm utterly and completely unfamiliar with, and that's one of them.
Huh. Yeah, Dodge 880 in 1962. Well, it was the C body And that was a thing where Chrysler had a thing where they were they shot themselves in the foot for a little while, and then with the B bodies, and then in 62, 880, yeah, this thing right here, we're talking about.
Yeah,
yeah,
the most fancy looking thing Chrysler ever built.
Yeah, they're weird, and they made them in '63 as well, the same front, But yeah, they're good cars. C body, full length torsion bars and stuff like that. They're good cars. They're cool. Yeah.
But I'm unfamiliar with the options and the things that were available and what's rare and what's weird.
I'll say this, me neither. But get yourself one of these things. No kidding. These things are just packed with you name it, and they're cheap. You can find them like all over the place. So people say, "Hey, Steve, you're so smart." I said, "Well, yeah, man, we've been around this stuff, but I won't claim that I know paint coach, but I know where to look when it's time to look." And I'm a writer first and foremost, so I have books like this, these kind of things. Get books. I always say, fill your garage, fill your library before you fill your garage. But books like Stunkard's Hemi book. Just get books and more books. Like
I've got to get Jeff on here. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of months.
Yeah,
I got to get him on here.
He's a good dude. Like station wagon books. I like to go to like used bookstores and stuff. And like when I do my Barrett Jackson notes and stuff like that. And by the way, I recently sold a bunch. Like when I do Barrett Jackson, this is a notebook right here from it says Houston 2021, Las Vegas 2014, right? These are the notebooks. So what I do is these things have notes in them that I write by hand for every car. It's like, it takes a long time, but I prepare before I go up on the auction block. People, oh, you know what stuff? No, I have a notebook and I keep it in my hand always. So I never try to pretend I'm like, I understand these things pretty well, but anybody can get the books and study them. And that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. Learning.
That's the truth, man. Learning about this stuff and connecting all of those dots and all it's to me, it's the biggest part of it,
Yeah.
But again, so we're different than most people. We're nerds. We're hot rod nerds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think everybody
talk this talk, but I don't think they really relate to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think everybody has, what I love every time I get a new car, no matter what it is, I geek out. I buy owner's manuals and stuff. Even this stupid Volvo I have, a friend of mine, her mom got Alzheimer's and she can't drive anymore. So they had to take the car away from her because she was going for rides and getting lost, put it like that. So they told her the car was whatever. They gave me this Volvo, whatever. And I've been driving it and stuff, but it's fun, learning about it and, the evolution of its engine. It's got a 5-cylinder weird, freaky engine. So it's, it's just learning about stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing now with new motorcycles because I finally got back into bikes. I was big into bikes for a long time. I know I'm going to get to Mr. Wilson in a second. And I got away from it for 10 years. Now I went and bought a Sporty, and then I bought a Buell Blast because I wanted to have something, a thumper that I could experiment with stuff. And like now there's all of these new bikes with new technology because when you're away from something like that for 10 years, it's like, what happened? What's good? What's better? And now I'm having a blast just learning about the new models. I'm not going to buy any of these things. I'm probably never going to ride them, but I'm just absorbing. I'm sucking in all the new information and to me, that's the fun.
This is a little weird, but I was talking to a guy. He was incarcerated. He had a barroom fight. Somebody died. Whatever. He went to jail. He went into jail in 1988. He came out a year ago. He was blown away. There's Hemi cars now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's almost worth going to jail to come out and say, oh, what? There's shakers? There's what? There's demons that go do wheelies? You know what I mean? It's a pretty amazing time right now. This guy was like, he was freaked out because in jail, he wasn't really hearing much of anything about anything. He just figured the front wheel drive stuff, that was about it. The Viper, the rumors about the Viper. Well, the Viper's been discontinued and 8 evolutions since he's been in jail, but he was blown away that he could buy a Challenger, and he's going to try and get one now because he's been a good boy and all that kind of crap. But you meet all kinds of people, but this guy's been in jail, you know, and yeah, he's blown. Yeah, to make Magnums and 300s. Really? Yeah, the Hemi's back. No, yeah, you know, it's kind of he's been underwater or something like that. But anyway, yeah.
Mr. Will wants to know, Tony and Steve, when will you guys do a junkyard crawl together? Can't wait.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
We talked about doing it in September, but see, he's very busy. I'm very busy. Our schedules will, and remember, he's 1,000 miles away from it. Our schedules will eventually allow us to get together and do something, but
I'd like that. Yeah.
But we will. There's no question about it. I mean, we could probably collaborate on stuff separately. We don't necessarily have to.
Be in the same room.
Actually, I just have 3 or 4 ideas flash into my head. I'll text you in the morning. Maybe
All right.
we could probably make some interesting videos, collaborate, and not actually have to be in the same place.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up in a couple of minutes. And do we have any other good?
Let's see. They're talking to another.
Steve, what do you want to promote? What do you want to sell? What do you want people to know about?
Well, I guess just subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'm going to make shirts. I have like this thing here. I'm making this my logo, SteveMags.com.
That's great.
So it's I probably will be selling them and I'm making prototypes right now, and soon I'll put stuff on my website.
Where do you order those?
You could make them.
Where do you order them?
Where do you order them, Steve?
Well, I've only got 3 of them. I have to make them first, but what I'm doing is I'm playing with the design to kind of get it right. The first one didn't have the glasses. No, I put the glasses on it. Where is it? Yeah, right here. I put the glasses on it, and then no logo. So I'm still like perfecting it, if you will. And I'm also going to make Bad Seed Chevette T-shirts.
Do you have the ability to make the screens and all of that?
Well, there's a place that I work with for, they $12 a shirt is what they charge me to make them. You know what I mean? So, and that includes a shirt, and there's no tax on clothing. Hey there, whatever. So yeah, I might do that, and we'll see. It's not about like getting rich or whatever, but some people want stuff. I probably will.
As soon as he has them up, I want one.
Yeah, Kathy's saying as soon as she has them ready to go, she'll buy them from you.
All right. Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? Dripping Glass, awesome. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Steve. Great, interesting car talk. It is great, interesting car talk. Yeah. Steve, when are we going to do this again? Pick a date, and I'm going to put it aside so that I make sure that
you're always on Sundays, right? Is that your thing, Sunday nights? Or
we do a Wednesday night tech show, which is only I do it with Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I'm down. Yeah.
You pick a date, and I'll make sure. What's the matter?
Nothing.
No.
Look at me like what?
Well, because I don't know.
No, I'm just listening to you.
You let me know what date is good for you, and we'll get it down like on the schedule right away so that we can have a little more time to promote.
2 weeks from tonight, something like that. How about 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks from tonight, you got it.
All right. I'll write myself a calendar.
These lives fly, bro. I got to tell you.
Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, bro, let's do a UFO Halloween.
Okay.
Let's talk about flying saucers on Halloween.
Yeah, let's do that. I got to say, I believe in science, but the whole thing with the Navy, it's pretty eye-opening. Really, you know what I'm talking about, right?
TikTok and all, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and other things. It's pretty cool. The Russian, whatever.
I'm going way down the rabbit hole. Way down the rabbit hole.
Halloween.
Halloween. We'll do a Halloween show.
So it's October 31st then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, October 31st.
Okay.
These shows fly, man. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
We've been at it for 2.5 hours. We got to do it on your channel, and you can cash out some super chats.
Yes, we will. I do have upstairs in my house here. I do have a studio where we shoot or do the. Yes, we'll do that. Yeah. I do that. At this point, people have to come in and sit down, but I don't think that's necessary. So my buddy Chris will have to walk me through this thing here. So anyway, yeah.
Well, right whenever you're ready. Yeah. So all right. Jay Russell Finch wants to know, Steve, can you answer some comments on your channel? He wants you to answer some comments.
Yeah, I tune in. Yeah, I've been busy the last couple of weeks, but I do have to get in there and sweep up a little bit and respond to people. And I plan to do a lot of that this week.
All right. So, guys, our mods, John, Aries, Zero, Fubar, thank you so much. Everybody who contributed with Super Chat, thank you so much. You pay the bills, you keep everything rolling and happy and shiny and be fat, right? A fat bastard. Who else? Everybody contributed just with great conversation. You don't have to have money to be appreciated here. Thank you so much. This was great. And Steve, thank you. Because like I said, these are my favorite shows. It's like, look at this. 2 hours and 32 minutes. I swear to God, I feel like I'm just like we have to introduce the topics again.
Right.
You have to study for the UFOs.
I don't have to study. I got all the UFO stuff in my head.
Right.
Steve, let's call it a night.
Okay. See you on October 31st. See you in Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween, brother, man.
And thank you, Kathy.
I'll text you tomorrow. I got a couple of ideas. I'll
Okay.
text you in the morning.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
And broadcast, and where?